It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's in Mexico City. Richard Campbell's in Warsaw, Poland. But they're here to talk about Windows. We'll talk about the mystery of the Snapdragon Developer Box. Why did Qualcomm cancel it? Qualcomm and ARM in court? Could it be? Plus some Xbox news that made me, personally, very happy. All that and more coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, episode 904, recorded Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. Not sexy, but important. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft, and we have the Global Travelers Edition today. Joining us from Mexico City, Mexico, Mr. Paul, I can now joke in Spanish.
They were the weakest joke of all time, but totally worth it.
And people laughed, so it means your Spanish is excellent.
It means I can be understood like a 1-year-old could be understood.
And
my pencil is yellow.
Joining him in our lovely three-way picture window,
there you go,
Mr. Richard Campbell, who is in Poland,
Warsaw. Yeah,
Warsaw.
Just finished the closing keynote of the Developer Days Poland.
Wonderful. So you have a little time to relax and enjoy Warsaw, or are you
flying home tomorrow? We had the weekend in Warsaw, so.
Oh well, that's good.
But it's the third week on the road, and we're all real ready to go home.
I love this. Richard's in Warsaw. His picture is better than mine.
Yeah. That little OBS-Bot Tiny 2, man, that is a banging camera.
Oh, is that what you're using? Yeah, that's a good camera.
Yeah. But I got lots of light on me, right? I've got the good lights.
Light's the key.
Light is key. Yeah.
You know, we're going to talk about today, I feel, is this. This new collector's item that I paid zero for.
Let me tell you guys something. I think 1,000 people reached out to tell me, with great alacrity.
Yeah,
you have to tell Leo immediately.
Me too. Yeah.
I think he heard it. I think he knows.
I found out.
You've confirmed you did not pay for it, because I haven't gotten a check. I know mine has arrived.
I never got. They never billed me for it.
Interesting. Okay.
Great.
So I don't. Yeah, I mean that's right. I don't know if that's true or not.
But,
I'd
be fine paying for it.
Yeah,
they delivered it to you.
We did get. I'm sad to say one email that basically. Let me see if I can find it. It basically said that was the worst show I've ever listened to.
Last week. Yeah.
Last week. Never have.
I mean,
Paul
I can feel.
walk Leo through anything ever again. Basically.
Wow, I like that I was the problem.
No, I don't. Well, that's why I'm trying to find the email. I want to get you the exact wording.
I did mention this a couple of times. This will be the worst listening experience ever.
Yeah, no, you were. And this is from, it comes from Greg Priestley, and he's an Australian. So I'm going to do this in his language.
Nice.
Just to let you know, this week was the worst, most boring Windows Weekly ever.
Right.
Who thinks an audio podcast of trying to get Leo to click the right buttons is riveting entertainment, mate?
Nobody thought that. See, I take great exception to this.
Yes.
You warned us.
Here's the problem.
It's going to be bad.
If we delivered an entertaining and educational episode, were you going to get an email from this guy? Because if not, I don't know what to tell you.
It's fine. I think it was of interest to some. But
you do?
Okay. I think also of interest to some is the fact that for some reason, Qualcomm has said, yeah, this didn't work. We're not going to send any more out.
Yeah.
Right.
And for the two, it said there were 200 of us who got them. Richard, congratulations.
Wow. So we're only in the 200. That's pretty cool.
Well, I think that might have been speculation by a tech blog. I can't remember. But we're not going to get billed, apparently, and they don't want it back, apparently.
Yeah. So I wonder if they're going to fail. Is the real issue here? Is that they don't want to warn.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. What's wrong with this?
Guys, we gotta cut to the more important topic, which is maybe Leo, we could walk him through resetting the PC today.
Oh boy. I'm still keen to put Linux on this thing. Not that I've laid hands on it yet, but we'll see what happens.
No.
Anyway, I love a good orphan. That's exciting to me.
So we had a call with Qualcomm on Monday, unrelated to this, and of course somebody asked, right? And it was just a slightly more nuanced version of the public statement, which I honestly think is correct. I think they, for better or worse, went with this company. I think this company did not show up with the quality they were expecting.
Arrow, right?
Yeah.
Or was Arrow just the shipper?
I don't know. But it's not, people are saying like Qualcomm can't, Qualcomm did this, Qualcomm hired a third party, the quality of the device
Make a mini PC that should have been in our hands by June.
Yep. I think there were a lot of mistakes that the details in some ways aren't important. It's just that, it just wasn't right. And now, and Richard and I had this conversation privately, but it's months later and Windows and ARM devices are readily available. They're great. And I think I made this point last week, but if you're a developer, which was the target for this thing, I mean, let's not get too overblown with this. Like, the target for this was a very small audience. I think you'd be better off getting a laptop anyway, because part of the testing should involve all the mobility and efficiency stuff. So
you'd also have got it sooner.
So Arrow was the distributor.
Okay.
And one of the things that a couple of people have said, both in the Twitch chat and our Discord, is they lost the license. What does that mean?
Who lost the license?
Who lost the license?
What does that mean? What
license are they talking about?
Yeah.
What is? Let me just go over behind you guys to the other side. I don't know what that means. Who lost the license? Qualcomm. What? Who? What?
So this Qualcomm.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a different. I'm sorry. He's talking about a different topic. This is the ARM thing. We'll get to that in the future. We'll get to it. That's a different topic.
Okay.
This is the ARM licensing.
ARM licensing. Okay.
Legal issue. Yeah.
But does you think that has anything to do with this?
I think people just hear Qualcomm and ARM and they get confused.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So we don't know why they pulled this out of the.
No,
they said it wasn't up to our
exactly, right?
standards, right? But I don't. Yeah. But it seems. I'm looking forward to you getting home, Richard.
Yeah.
And playing with it. And Paul, I'm going to send you mine because you deserve it. I don't need this.
I deserve it. You deserve this, Hunter.
And you could figure out what's wrong with it.
This thing's terrible.
Okay. I've been
but I
running
feel like
it.
you would like it.
The other reason is, and you said you were thinking about Linux on it, Richard. There are of course Snapdragon Elite versions.
Qualcomm has very explicitly worked to make that happen. Yeah.
But and in fact, Gerling said he was going to send information about his unit to Ubuntu to help them make a better version. But if there's only 200 in the whole wide world, I doubt there's a lot of incentive to make this specific machine work well on Linux.
Right. There's no need for that. They need to make Linux work. They need Linux to work well on the IdeaPad settings or whatever.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
So I don't know what unique hardware there is in here and stuff, but all of that would need Linux drivers.
I'm sure it's just like a NUC. It's a laptop motherboard, essentially. Probably some, generic.
You think it's pretty generic?
Yeah, I do.
Well,
I mean, by the way,
you're tore it all the way down. It's nothing fancy in there.
Okay.
But one of the most notable things about the first, 2, 3, 4, whatever Copilot Plus PCs I reviewed was how identical they were.
Yeah.
I don't mean I opened the box and looked at the board, but they were just the same. They were exactly the same.
It's like a laptop in a box, right?
Yeah.
By the way, it does say on the back, evaluation only, not FCC approved for resale. Right. So, Paul, I was going to ask you for $1.
I will donate $1 to the charity of your choice, to the Leo Laporte Fund, perhaps.
I can't sell it to you. I saved the box because I thought, maybe, in 100 years, this would be worth something. I don't know.
If it is, I'll give it back to you. I don't think
things are worth something because they're scarce, and this is scarce.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes it kind of cool.
Well, so was interest in Windows and ARM. So, what's that?
Well, it's one of the things when we were chatting on this is like, does this actually hurt Windows on ARM?
Right.
They missed this window. Like, if this thing had showed up in June, actually encouraged devs to do more conversions to ARM, would that make a difference?
I don't think so.
Because part of this was, this whole AI head fake is about, hey, let's get, you get the fancy version of Copilot if you buy a Windows on ARM device.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I'm all over the map on this, Richard. I just listened to your Run as Radio. .NET Rocks episode with Chris Sells, for example.
Right.
And it was striking. I love him, and his career is
brilliant.
fascinating to me.
Yeah.
He's great. It blows my mind that Windows was it, mobile was it, web sort of. And what's the next wave? What's the next wave? For a little while it was the digital assistant stuff, and then it was maybe VR, MR, something in there, and then it's like maybe it's AI. Maybe that's the thing. But the problem with these other platforms is that they still require the existing platforms to do anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's like a wave. I don't know. It's an interesting problem, but I don't know. I don't think Copilot Plus PC on Snapdragon specifically is going to set the world on fire.
No.
But we are all going to have NPUs now. So,
Apparently.
we don't think too much about like those, what do they call it? Like the multimedia extensions that Intel put in their chips in the 1990s. Like, for a little while, there was a dividing line between the haves and the have-nots, but that mattered or didn't, I know. But today that's NPUs, and just like TPM, like it will just be there,
Yeah. No, it'll just be that once upon a time, having a GPU was a big deal.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and the world of multi-processor machines continues to expand.
Yeah, there you go.
I debate how well it's being used. I often am pulling up the monitor just to see, does the MPU in this thing ever do anything for me, really?
The answer to that question is no. No, it really is. I mean, today it's basically no, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, really, we don't know what went wrong.
Not really.
No, I just think it boils down to this company was terrible. The product they made is whatever. They didn't deliver it on time. Maybe they couldn't ship it in the volume.
And there wasn't a need for it.
Maybe there wasn't
There was a need for this in June. Before the laptop. This should have arrived before the laptop. It's a mini PC, for crying out loud. Integrating a laptop's hard. Stuffing things in a plastic box is pretty easy. So, this should have been first. And the fact that the moment it wasn't, stop.
Part of this might be tied to the history of Qualcomm and Windows on ARM, and the fact that these guys overpromised and undelivered for several years before. What happened?
Before they built a really remarkable chip. By all accounts, a remarkable chip.
Absolutely, and we'll touch on that a little bit later too, because it comes up again and again. But I don't think I wrote it. I went back. I had to look some things up today. I went back and read something I wrote last October, where Qualcomm once again made a bunch of promises, and I just said, "Look, I want to believe, I do, but they failed us every time." Yeah. And it is astonishing how well how good these are.
Yeah, but I also think
came out of nowhere.
Qualcomm's not used to building the center point of a PC. They're used to building chipsets for phones. This is a different business with different partners, and I think they struggled with those differences. And this mini PC is worse still because they really went off.
I'm sure it was about money, but really they should have gone to Dell, Lenovo, HP's one of those companies and said, "Please make one of these."
Could they have done it for the price?
Who knows?
Yeah,
I think the other part is it was all a lost leader, in the first place.
Yeah, it's the highest end chip, 32 gigs of RAM. I don't remember the storage, but these are pretty expensive components, right?
Yeah.
And by that,
and Windows Home, which I'm really happy about because I'm in a home.
I'm pretty sure one of the first things I'm going to do is try and force a pro license onto that thing.
I just had a email from a service that offered me 3 Windows 11 Pro licenses for, I think it was $2.08 or something. Nice. So if you need to upgrade on the cheap, you can do it.
Yeah, it's just a trick question of how quickly can you get it to switch to a better license before you fully Ubi'd even, right? Because retroing it afterwards, you don't get the same effect.
That's true. Yeah, especially if you want something like, this is something I'm still, as part of the testing I have to do on here is the automatic disk encryption stuff, right? So Windows 11 has always offered that if you sign in with a Microsoft account. Windows on Home, it's just disk encryption. They don't call it BitLocker. You don't get the tools, but it does happen automatically.
Is it supposedly the same? It's RSA.
It's the
strong
it's
encryption.
The same. Okay. Yep. But the 24H2, supposedly that happens even if you don't sign in with a Microsoft account. And I have to test that because I don't quite understand. You need some way to have a recovery key if you can't get into the computer.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked at that yet, but
you triggered something in me. Now I think if I switch up to Pro, will recall run?
Oh,
will recall run on a system that doesn't have it today? Or
well, presuming these Copilot Plus PCs are going to run recall, because somebody said that would happen.
Okay. I don't think it matters if you're on Home or Pro, so that should be
that's a good question.
actually, it's good that there's automatic encryption because the issue is when you throw out or sell or recycle a computer, unless you have it encrypted, your hard drive, very likely is going to be visible to.
I destroy all the drives before I get rid of the machine.
Yes.
Yeah, but most people don't, right? But if you encrypt it, then it's gibberish no matter what. So
I would say for 90-something%, high 90s, that just happens automatically and no one has to think about it or worry about it. Right?
All phones now do that for that reason. Okay. Well, so I'll send it to you, Paul. I'm going to wait till you get back. I don't want to. Should I send it to Mexico City?
No. Please. I told you my Declare story. I don't. The less hardware I fly with, the better.
So once you get back, let me know. When are you coming home for Christmas or?
Yeah, for Thanksgiving. So the 19th.
Good. I'll send it to you for Thanksgiving. It'll be a wonderful way to celebrate
my other turkey for November.
Yeah. Break out the carving night, kids. We've got the Snapdragon Dev Kit right here.
That's right. I want the oyster.
Mostly, I just want to know. I want you to break it. I want to know why they took it back.
Curious.
You want to know that,
well,
right?
I think Rich is going to have our first look at that. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I bet there's warranty issues, and they didn't want to warranty it. Not taking money is a good way to just say, I don't have to warranty it.
Well, by the way, putting a sticker on the
unsupported.
Box that says FCC not compliant is one way to get around being compliant, and we can't sell it. So maybe the fix was too expensive.
Yeah, not the same.
It comes with an HDMI, Thunderbolt to HDMI adapter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm perfectly happy. It doesn't.
No.
Listen, if you wanted to hold on to that, I understand. That's probably worth more than the box. I would.
I'll keep the adapter, and you have the rest of it.
I'm just sitting here with like an HDMI thing hitting the back of the box. Why does this work?
It's nicely equipped. It's got two USB-A ports, three Type-C ports. And by the way, very handily, they've numbered them in case you lose track.
Because you know how important that is.
Yeah, this is so
shows up in
the numbering is 0, 1, and 2. So
I love it.
And then they put this hatch, as we showed you last week on the Transflash.
That's my favorite part about it.
What? Like why? I don't understand that.
You don't want someone sticking a quarter in there by mistake or something?
There's nothing would fit.
So stupid.
But it's cool. I mean, it says X Elite on it. It has the logo. I mean, it is. Anyway, you can put that.
Yeah.
If you decide you want to give it away, send it back to me and postage.
No, I will use it. I'll use it. So I'll explain I'll explain how and why I'll use it later in the show because it's going to come up.
Okay. Oh, good.
All right.
Let's see here. We're only 17 minutes and 50 seconds into the show by my careful calculations. And we have yet to talk about Windows. So let's do it. Let's do it.
Do you need to take an ad break first?
Well, I need to, but
all right. We can get through maybe the first part here.
Yeah. I'll just get through the first part.
It's like it never happened. Yeah. Okay. So
we have a shared document. Yeah. And foolishly, Paul has given me edit access.
I cringe a little bit every time I see orange text appear in my otherwise pristine document. No,
you can move stuff around, put in pictures. I can do all sorts of stuff to really mess with
good
Paul.
Stuff. He's deleting my personal photos. It's
at this point, I think Paul thinks of me as a precocious 8-year-old.
Yes.
Annoying him in
actually what I've learned is it's not just you because I share some notions with my wife and I don't like when she touches anything either.
But you were really masterful last week. You could have gotten angry, but you were patient, you were calm.
Angry?
You said,
about what?
Click the button. No, the button. The one in the upper left. The button.
Yeah, that. Okay.
You did that very well. And
the other right.
As I felt as a senior citizen, I was well served by you, Paul. Yeah. So thank you. Windows 11, Week D.
Yeah, so it's weekday, right? So we were all really well attuned to the calendar now, thanks to Microsoft and their updating policies. So weekday, the Tuesday weekday is when Microsoft puts out their preview updates. And so we did get one as expected. And then we didn't get one as expected. So if you're on 23H2, you can, if you want, you can install next month's patch Tuesday update now. If you're on 24H2, there's nothing, but my guess, based on history, we'll get one this week, right? Some other time.
Right.
That's how it usually goes. So nothing major to speak of. Well, no, that's not fair. I'm sorry. This will include the Copilot Copilot key customization feature in settings, which I have to say I'm really looking forward to. It is
Now you can do anything with the key.
I type really quickly, but I also type really messily. And
if you bang the Copilot key, you change the context of everything.
Yep. And it is astonishing how much I must rely on autocorrect. But God, this is going to sound impossible, but I bet I launch Copilot inadvertently 20 times a day plus.
There you go. See, we need a macro button that counts how many times you hit it, as well as do something less
unbelievable. And then followed by Control W to kill it. And I bet Microsoft's telemetry from Mexico is going on. They're like, we're seeing a lot of Copilot usage in Mexico, guys. You know? No,
They're
you
going
don't.
Crazy in Mexico City.
God,
this is awesome.
Yep. It must be because the very first demo Yusuf Mehdi ever did was a Mexico City itinerary. Remember at the original Bing launch?
Got them all excited.
Bing. Yeah. So anyway, useless. Not much else is interesting. I feel like one of these features, it's notification suggestions. I thought that was already in the product. Maybe it's already in 24H2 and not in 23H2. I'm not really sure, but because if I can't keep track, the Windows Virtual Keyboard is getting a Gamepad now for games, obviously. So that's kind of cool, virtual Gamepad. But that's about it. I mean, it's not too much. Not too much in there. So,
and you figured it's 24H2 slightly delayed, right? Like,
yeah, I base that only on the fact that they've done it 3-5 times this year already, right? Where they deliver one. Well, there haven't been that many months, so maybe 3 times.
A lot of quality concerns with 24H2, so it makes me wonder if they're not really tearing it apart, trying to figure out what the heck's going on.
See, that would assume some form of adult supervision over there. I don't think that's it. I think
when blue screens and stuff started popping up, the adults showed up and said, "What are you kids doing?"
Oh God, you would hope so. I mean, I had a guy write me the other day about the forced folder backup in OneDrive in Windows 11.
Oh, welcome.
And I said, dude, I sounded the alarm on this over a year ago.
Was his name Leo Laporte?
Yeah, maybe it was you actually during the thing.
Good Lord, I actually am glad I did that.
Yeah.
Because I just thought you were.
This is the response I have every time someone, whether it was December, March, July, now a year later, where someone's like, "Oh my God, did you notice?" I mean, did I notice? I switched to Google Drive because of this. Yeah, I noticed, but it's astonishing to me that they've not fixed this. I mean, made it better. It's on purpose.
But you did show me that one switch that you can flip, and then it stops. It gives up. And
I mean, I don't ever do that myself. Oddly, I let it do its thing. I feel like sometimes you got to feed the beast, but
never.
But I don't
feed the beast. No,
but I don't. But the thing is, the reason I do that is I don't have anything in those folders,
right?
So it syncing them doesn't matter.
See, I had 800 gigabytes in there.
But
who would put half a terabyte in our folders? I mean, honestly.
Well, it's still going to do it because I have stuff in the other folders that I made that are outside of that system, but they're still in OneDrive and they still do that little sync thing. It's not because they're downloading the files; they're downloading whatever they call the on-demand version of the placeholder versions of those files, right? It has to do that for disk indexing purposes, for search purposes. It's just metadata. Yep. So it takes a long time. I mean, I have 880 gigabytes of stuff in there somehow. So it takes a while, but I let it do it because I do want to be able to search and I do want to access those things. But I don't worry about the download part because I don't really have anything there. It's okay. Okay.
That's fair.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
More ARM action.
Yeah. This week is Qualcomm's big annual event for Snapdragon, the Snapdragon Summit in Hawaii. And it's a multi-day event, so I think there could still be more Windows announcements, including perhaps new chips, right? New generation chips. We'll see.
It would be awesome if they announced new Snapdragon X chips.
I think they will. I mean, they do. That's where they do it, and it's when they do it. So we'll see. But they did last year. That was the original announcement for this one. And my expectation, I don't know anything about it. They haven't briefed me or anything, but that is what I expect. But as we sit here on Wednesday, they've had a couple of momentous days. So on the phone side, they're bringing those Oryon cores from the PC chips, the Nuvia-based chips, to the phone, and dramatic performance gains, which is really interesting. Like 40, 50%.
These will be for Android.
Crazy. Yes. There were a bunch of little announcements around software and device drivers, which impacts me directly. Although I was thinking, Google said they were bringing Drive to ARM. Mm-hmm. This would have been the time and place, and they haven't said it yet. So, but they did specifically mention the Focusrite and the problem. The one hardware issue I have with ARM, which is how I will use this device if Leo sends it to me, is at home I'll use it on my desk. It'll be the thing I podcast with. The only reason I don't do it now is because the Focusrite's not compatible, and I need that for the microphone.
Perfect. Then I really will send it to you if you're going to use it. For
that's how I'll use it. Yeah.
Oh,
and
great. Yeah.
Here in Mexico, I have just a USB microphone, so that works fine, obviously. But I have the nice Heil mic at home, so.
Good. And when the Snapdragon Elite Developer Kit inevitably blows up, it will know because we'll be on the air and when the flames shoot out of it. And,
do you guys smell something funny?
We can say
it's the sound of a platform dying.
That's why they discontinued it. Oh,
dark, very dark.
Jeff Gerling did say that the fans are a little overactive. He said he could hear them. I couldn't really hear them. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but just to be aware of.
We'll check some more close.
The entire time I've been here in Mexico, I've been using the Snapdragon-based Surface laptop for all the podcast stuff.
Okay,
no problems. There's no fan. It's great.
No wind ups.
Okay,
sorry. Maybe that's related to what was going on. I mean, it shouldn't need a fan. Yeah, right? That's the whole point.
Well, it does need a fan, unfortunately, but maybe they were just cheap fans, or I don't know.
It has what it looks like a copper heat pipe. I can see it through the window.
We don't have a single example of a passively cooled Snapdragon X PC of any kind.
Interesting.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, and most of the reviewers, including Gerling, said it just doesn't stand up to the big competition that they're trying to beat, which is the Apple silicon chips. Yeah.
Well, they're in the. I always use this term. They're in the ballpark. I think the current gen chips compare well with the M3, right? For the most part.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So but on a portable sense, like the efficiency stuff, the battery life stuff, it's great, but it's not as good as the MacBook Air.
Right.
It's about 2.
And the M4 is going to be out.
The M4 is going to be a different ballpark. Yeah. So we'll see.
Although I have to say, what we've noticed on the Apple side is that most of the benefit was switching to this new ARM platform, and that the subsequent updates from M1, 2, 3, and now M4
are minor.
Have been small.
Yeah, the bigger advances come in the form of apps. Well, the OS itself, obviously, but then the apps going native. And so as more and more apps go native, you realize more and more benefits. And so,
that's true in Windows on ARM as well, right?
Yes, exactly.
That would be that's where you really want to have like a dev machine so that people can get their stuff across.
Well, I should say, we'll see. We have not seen a Gen 2. Gen 3, whatever, on the Snapdragon X. I mean,
now you're making a useful point there, Paul, which is maybe they're about to announce a new chipset, and there's going to be new dev machines for it. And why are we still trying to ship the old ones?
So the delay really killed them.
Okay, 6 months. That actually that makes a lot more sense to me than almost anything else I've heard. So that could be it. Yeah. So. One of the big things that happened this week was, I mentioned this earlier, I don't know if we were before the show or after, but after it started, but Qualcomm had a call with the press on Monday ahead of the show to talk about Intel. And not to talk about buying Intel, but rather to complain about the misleading information that they provided about Lunar Lake at IFA. Now,
interesting.
IFA to me was the high point of Intel's year. They released the anti-Intel Core chip in Lunar Lake. They stepped away from all of the things they had done before and did things differently. By the way, exactly mirroring what they had done when they moved from Pentium to the Core chipset itself 15 or 18 years ago, whenever that was. I thought their public posture was strong. It was aggressive.
Yep.
Turns out it was at least partially smoke and mirrors. Now, look, it's marketing, right? Obviously, when you make some kind of a product, you want to highlight the things that make you look good, and you want to sort of ignore the things that make you look bad. But the types of comparisons that Intel did were questionable. So I'm not saying Qualcomm's 100% right, but they made a really good case that Intel, at what point does misleading become lying? It's kind of hard to say.
It's kind of hysterical because Qualcomm's been doing that year after year after year.
So I'm going to say the same thing that I would say to someone who complains when Microsoft issues an antitrust complaint about someone else.
Right.
Which is that who would know it better than them? We know antitrust violations when we see them, guys. Come on. It's, so yes, fair enough. But I look, it doesn't obviate the fact that what Intel did was kind of questionable. So whatever. I will say I'll give credit where it's due. I was not thinking along these lines, but Rich Woods brought up, well, what about graphics? You guys are killing Intel all over the place, but you're not killing them on graphics. And to their credit, the guys from Qualcomm are like, no, all props to Intel. That is one area where they're nailing it. For Gen 1, we needed to hit processor, like CPU performance and battery life. That was the big goal. And they're looking at GPU for, they didn't say Gen 2, but a future Gen. So maybe it is Gen 2, maybe it's Gen 3. I don't know. But
I just didn't want to give away the farm yet.
And this
I'd be real generous with, Intel's doing really well there. Because the next thing to say is wait till you see our next chip. Right.
When Intel announced Meteor Lake late last year, the biggest gain, what became Core Ultra, the single biggest improvement was the graphics, the integrated graphics. And I tested it at the time in December on just a regular laptop, and it could play games. Like not, the very latest game on, 60 frames a second at native resolution, but 19 or 1080p, 30, 60 frames a second, whatever, good AAA games, like it worked. And this is kind of ushering in a new era for that type of performance. And now with Lunar Lake, they pretty much have doubled it again. Like they did this, it's not just gen over gen, it's like year over year. That's unprecedented. So for all of Intel's problems, and there are many, they really got the GPU stuff right. And AMD was already in a good place. So it's not like AMD's lagging there behind, but Intel's doing great with integrated GPU. Is the one needle in that haystack I can pull out that has like a positive shine to it. So Monday starts with Qualcomm complaining about Intel. Okay, fair enough. Qualcomm announces Oryon cores from the Snapdragon X coming to the phone. Awesome, as expected, right? And then ARM Holdings sued Qualcomm again for this licensing problem, right? So I spent the better part of the morning researching this and didn't uncover anything unexpected or new. But sure enough, what it boils down to is Nuvia had a non-transferable license for ARM. Qualcomm, of course, has licenses for ARM. ARM believes that Qualcomm has to pay for Nuvia's license, or they cannot use those designs, or they must throw them away. That's in the agreement, apparently. We don't know that because we don't see the agreement, right? So all we have to go on. This trap where
you bought this company, but you can't use their tech unless you pay double for the license.
Right. So this is a lot like any conversation we would have about any company buying Intel and what does that mean to the x86 license that AMD has, and everyone seems to know that they have to throw it away and start over and blah blah blah. Okay. Maybe we know more about that one because I think that case actually did go to court, or maybe the settlement they had was public. I'm not sure. But what I do know is that there is no public record of ARM's agreement with Qualcomm. And all we can go on is what they've said. Qualcomm is very confident that its licenses and IP assets protect it from this claim, and that if we go to court, we will win, and that the court will see this. So we'll see. My expectation is not that this thing goes to court.
No, but
rather that they settle.
Courtroom steps deal. Yeah.
Yep. If we make this the simplest possible conversation, Qualcomm wants to pay $1. ARM wants to charge $2, and we're going to meet somewhere in the middle. That's my guess. Yeah, I also looked this up. So now that a couple things have happened in the interim between the time that Qualcomm started making chips for PCs and today, Apple came out with Apple Silicon M series chips for Macs, raising the bar yet again. I mean, Windows and ARM already looked sad and pathetic as it was, but as soon as that happened, it just exponentially awful. Microsoft was going all 64-bit with Windows 11. It was going to be announced the next year. They wanted to get that going. They wanted x64 and ARM64 to be reasonably identical, and they were nowhere close at the time. ARM, by the way, was going public. So ARM now releases quarterly earnings statements.
Yes.
ARM makes exactly 1/10 as much revenues as Qualcomm. Exactly 1/10. In fact, the last quarter, it was literally it was to almost $1, 1/10.
10%.
And 10%, yeah. If like 900 something million versus 9 something billion, just, horrific. So, Qualcomm can afford it. Is what I'm saying. Now, it makes sense.
You really want to play dueling lawyers in this game? I don't know. This is a good idea. But the sensible thing here is you don't want the discovery. This is all private information.
That's exactly right. Those documents that I alluded to earlier that are private and not public, both companies want that to remain true.
Yep.
And the thing is, maybe Qualcomm would pay 1.2 of the two or 1.3 or something. I don't know. It is odd to me that ARM has been very vocal. ARM has worked to undermine Qualcomm with its statements a couple of times. Yeah. ARM announced this during Qualcomm's biggest annual event. Come on. Yeah. You think that's a coincidence?
Yeah.
Well, it's, all's fair and whatever, but
you're literally trying to play public opinion and stock price games in negotiating.
But here's the thing. I don't know what the percentages of ARM's revenues that come from Qualcomm or the percentage of ARM chips that ship in the world that are Qualcomm's. I don't know. It's a big number, right? Either way, they have to be their biggest partner / customer. They have to be, right? When you as a public company defend yourself against what you perceive to be some sort of a license or IP violation, infringement, you have to, right? You're legally obligated to protect yourself. You have to protect your shareholders. However, when you undermine your biggest customer / partner, and you could materially harm them,
your company in the process,
you're harming you.
Yeah,
and that you're harming, right? So it's a strange dynamic.
Oh no, they're both running around with a gun pointed at their head, saying, "One move and the idiot gets it." Right?
Yes, exactly.
How do you do it?
Yes, yes, and they're like walking backwards, and one of them's going to trip.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
No, it's very much an ego dance at this point, or is it a shareholder dance? Like you're showing off.
I would say more. Yes,
we are defending with vigor.
Yeah, it's you're not the first person. It's interesting you just said that. Ego has come up a couple of times. I know people run companies and people have egos, but at the end of the day, this is a publicly traded company, and you have to.
There are shareholders.
Ego is maybe the wrong term. It's yes, you have a responsibility to shareholders.
Yeah.
That's why when I complain about, say, Microsoft being a lot less transparent about their finances, and I could argue in a vague way that that's bad for shareholders because you need to know that information to know how the company's doing, et cetera, et cetera. Someone from Microsoft could just point at the stock price and say, that's all they need to know, idiot. Yeah. Who cares? It's going great. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It has an interesting history. It's always fascinating when,
these two are stuck with each other. They're just bickering, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're not, from a size perspective, they're not the same, but ARM has the same hold over Qualcomm in a way that Qualcomm has over it. They both need each other.
But if either harms either one, both suffer.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the opposite. Like what do you call it when you have a like the little fish latches onto the shark and catches the garbage that comes out of his mouth, and they have what's that relationship?
It's symbiotic.
Symbiotic. Thank you. So what's a non-symbiotic relationship? Is there a term for that? Because it's weird. It's both. I guess it's technically
like a pyrrhic relationship.
Called mutualism is when both parties benefit.
Mutual assured arrogance.
They are
Kevin King, who is a shark fan.
Yes.
He watches Shark Week religiously, so you can trust him.
It's more of a shark life.
Actually, I think given that you're Mexico City, we should call it a Mexican standoff.
Wow. Except here, of course, they just call it a standoff.
Actually, you want to do the Oryon core thing, and then we can do the ad break?
Yeah. We kind of did. So it's not always clear on the outside, I think, what is happening here, but the processor cores that are in the Snapdragon X, and like all processor types, there's two types. They don't call them efficient and performant. Every company has their own names. I forget what they call them. But if you go back to the original Nuvia acquisition announcement, they paid $1.4 billion to this company. I think it was January 2021. Never mentioned Windows, never mentioned PC. But 50% of the quotes at the bottom of the article are from PC companies and Microsoft. In fact, the top one's from Microsoft. So it was very clearly going to be something that was heading to the PC. And of course, they were more explicit about it later. But the other 50% were all mobile companies, Samsung, Google, right? So it was also always going to go to mobile as well. I think we in the PC space, I think a lot of people, but a lot of us sort of saw Nuvia as this is them fixing Windows on ARM, which is certainly what happened, but it's not just that. It was always going to go to the phone as well. And so, yesterday, I think it was, they announced their names are so terrible. Snapdragon 8, I think it says 8. I think they're calling it, I don't remember, who cares, is their next gen phone, chip for phones, not just phones and tablets.
But it's essentially the Elite in here going to a phone?
Well, it's the same processor. So, the three parts, there's the Adreno GPU, there's the NPU, which I think is Helix, maybe is the brand they use for that. I don't think those are the same. I think they still have, because you have to meet the, efficiency need. This is a 3 nanometer
it's just the
part.
GPU then. Okay. CPU, I mean.
Yeah.
By the way, I've boxed it up. It's ready to go.
Okay. Maybe a little Christmas paper on there.
I will. I'll wrap it. But I forgot to take my to wipe it. So, but you know how to do that, right?
I do know.
Can I walk you through it?
You know what? Let's do a special episode. I think Leo tells Paul how to reset Windows might be entertaining. Actually, it might be the antidote to that guy's complaint.
I'm excited about the Makunji Thanksgiving. That's pretty cool.
I think it's a very
my
special
family's going to be really surprised when they take that lid off the turkey and it's not what they thought.
And it's
Greg Priestley, you stay tuned because that's coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. Poor guy. You were right. We're not, Greg, we're agreeing with you. You were right.
No, I could feel it happening. I was like,
Paul said it.
This is not going to sound good. This is
bad, baby. This is bad. Little plug for Club Twit here. Kevin, who is, as I mentioned, a Shark fan and loves Shark Week, has just told us he does not have a TV. He can't afford a TV. Now, that's why it's so very important.
Can we get a tip jar going for him?
That you join Club Twit. Because if you join Club Twit, this young man will be able to watch Shark Week once again.
Is he on?
I don't know.
Kevin, we don't have a way to show Kevin, I guess.
I do. He's
probably sitting there in his underwear in his house.
I'm younger than you guys.
Imagine one of these guys, but like 25 years
younger. Ago. Okay. Okay. Club Twit is our little membership club. We do it through Memberful, and one of the things that's great about Club Twit is it's a great community of people who listen to our shows, and we just love it. I know we now have about 655 people watching on our live streams on YouTube and Twitch and Kick and X and everywhere, and all of you, some of you are anywhere seeing it for the first time, saying, it's pretty good. We would like you to join the club because it is pretty good. We've got lots of shows. They're ad-free when you're in the club. You get access to the Discord where you can chat with other members, other winners and dozers. You can also see stuff that we don't normally put out in public, like our Stacy's Book Club coming up Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Stacy and I will talk about a brand new sci-fi book that Jason Snell, our MacBreak Weekly host, said is the best book of the year, Adrian Tchaikovsky's Service Model. If you get it right now, you could probably finish it before Friday and join us to discuss it. I also did a coffee thing last week, and I think we're going to do more of those, including a tasting with Mark Prince, the coffee geek, and Sarah Dooley from beans.com. And she says she's going to put together a little tasting kit. So we'll fill you in on that. That'll be a club only thing. But the thing about those, you can watch them live. Everybody can watch them live, but we make them available to club members only on the Twit Plus feed. So that's another benefit. $7 a month. I mean, that's a lot of podcasts charge that much for one show. That's for everything. And it really does help us keep the lights on. None of it goes into my pocket. It's really to keep people like Kevin and our great team working and to keep putting out these shows, and Paul and Richard and everybody. So twit.tv/club twit. Okay, thanks in advance. Meanwhile, let me continue with a word from our sponsor, and then we'll get back to Paul and Richard and Windows Weekly. Our show today brought to you. I just met these guys last week, and I was so blown away. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. I hadn't. US Cloud. You may want to hear about them. They're the #1 Microsoft Unified Support replacement. They do it better for less than Microsoft. US Cloud is the global leader in third-party Microsoft enterprise support. 50 of the Fortune 500 uses US Cloud, and that's because switching to US Cloud can save your business 30 to 50%. That's on a true comparable replacement for Microsoft Unified Support. US Cloud supports the entire Microsoft stack 24/7, 365 days a year. They respond faster. They resolve tickets quicker for clients all over the world, and you will always talk to real humans. And fast, too. Check out their proven track record. Expert-level engineers with an average of 14.9 years, and that's for break, fix, or DSE. They make an effort. They really work to get the best engineers. So when you're on the phone with them, you're talking to an expert who's really going to help you. 100% domestic teams. Your data will never leave the U.S. And here's something Microsoft still doesn't do. Financially backed SLAs on response time. That's pretty good. Their initial ticket response averages under 4 minutes. And when everything's falling apart, nothing's working, it's nice to pick up the phone and within 4 minutes get a real expert on the line who can help you. In 2023, 94% of U.S. Cloud's clients reported saving 1/3 or more when switching from Microsoft Unified Support to U.S. Cloud. From Fortune 500 companies and large health systems to major financial institutions, even federal agencies, U.S. Cloud ensures that vital Microsoft systems are working for over 6 million users globally every day. I'm talking big brands. Caterpillar uses U.S. Cloud. HP, Aflac, Dun & Bradstreet, Under Armour, KeyBank, even the IT folks at Gartner have chosen U.S. Cloud for their Microsoft support. Here's a great quote. This is from a director of information technologies. It was an interview I heard. It was really cool. He says, I'll try to channel him. And within an hour, U.S. Cloud responded with, I want to say, 4 engineers. So not only did they bring the right guys to the call, but they brought the cavalry. I just felt like, wow, that was amazing. That was unlike anything I had experienced with Microsoft in my 8 years being with Premier. We made the right choice. That's a great quote from a person really there, right? Really on the front line. And of course, when it comes to compliance, no one gets it better than U.S. Cloud. ISO, GDPR, ESG compliance, they're not just regulatory requirements, but strategic imperatives that drive operational efficiency, legal compliance, risk management, and their corporate reputation. These standards foster trust and loyalty among customers and stakeholders and attract investment and ensure long-term sustainability and success in a global market. U.S. Cloud. I was so impressed. I want you to go to uscloud.com, book a call today to find out how much your team can save. Bottom line, better support, faster support for less. uscloud.com to book a call today and get faster Microsoft support for less. Thank you, U.S. Cloud, for supporting Windows Weekly. And I hope you will call them. And if they ask, let them know. Oh, yeah, I saw that on Windows Weekly. That was cool. Let's go back to the show.
Oh, my God.
What? What? Did I shock you?
Got a good shocked look out of Paul there. It was a good one.
3 things just happened in sequence. Like, A, if the Discord people could stop distracting me, please, thank you.
Oh, too many animated GIFs there? Is that the problem?
I just clicked on a link in the thing. It opened in the wrong browser. Then I went to close it. I closed the notes, and I'm like, I'm done. I don't know how to use the computer anymore.
Yeah,
I don't even know what's going on.
Oh, I don't blame you. You know what? If I saw this, I would be a little bit baffled as well. What is this? Yeah, look at that.
Yep, I know. This is what happens. See, this is what happens with the chat.
Too much coffee. I get talking about coffee, right?
I get into it. You know, stop being interesting. What's wrong with you?
Distracted easily, I am. You see, these are the club members. They're great. They're really fun in there. Get on in there. Get on.
That's funny.
All right, enough of that.
Yes.
What were we talking? I forgot what we were talking about.
It's insider time.
Yeah. So in the past week, there have been 2 builds, unless I missed something. Dev and Canary. Neither one is particularly interesting, but the only thing to really know is that both of them feature at least one feature that is in that week D.
You would hope.
Update that went out Tuesday. So they're already kind of behind the times, if you will. More interestingly, Microsoft announced separately in separate posts, which I thought was actually interesting to keep reusing words, 2 new features that will go out across various channels in the Insider program. And one of them is actually unstable, at least for me. I went and looked at the Snapdragon system I have here, and I have this feature, which is on October 1 or 2, Microsoft announced a bunch of kind of Wave 2 Copilot plus PC features. One of them was a feature called Super Resolution for the Photos app. So the Photos app already has background blur and removal.
How I feel about these names. God, it's Super Resolution.
Right. So this was one of the announcements that I was like, I could actually use this feature. I really could use this. I have old photos that are often low res, like my dad scanned them in many cases, has no idea what he's doing, obviously, and they're just low res, right? So I thought this would be kind of cool, and I have it. I for some reason, this is in my on my stable 24H2 machine. It was supposed to be rolling out to the Insider program, but like I said, I already have it. So cool. So it's an addition to the stuff that's there. So background blur, remove, and replace is in photos, regardless of Copilot plus PC. There's a restyle image feature, which is I can't remember. I think it's unique to Copilot plus PC. I think. And this is the one where you have an image of some kind of photo, and you can redo it using generative AI in the style.
Put a style on it, right?
An impressionistic painting or whatever.
There you go. Make it a Monet.
Yeah, and now they have super resolution. So I tried this on 8 different images. I got the same results every time, which some people are telling me is actually what I should expect. But the image I used in my article was me wearing orange clothes at age 5-ish. Brilliant. And survived a house fire. Yeah, it was the 70s. I mean, we were all doing it.
Yeah, everybody's wearing orange.
Yeah, I was heading out to Studio 51 or whatever, or 57 or whatever.
We just got rid of our black and white world, so of course you're wearing orange.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
That's right. Well, I mean, with the green matching couch behind me, here's velour, if I'm not mistaken.
The harvest gold shag carpet. Yeah.
Yes.
I have a very similar picture, Paul, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, but you're wearing it now. So
yes. I have that couch right behind me.
Yeah, I do have that couch. So yeah, you can super scale it or upscale it to 8x, right? So I did, and the same results. So to me, the quality of the image isn't any better, but some people are telling me, yeah, well, that's the point, right? I thought it was
same image, just 8x,
it's just bigger, which honestly is still very useful, but based on their original description, it should also improve the quality.
Right.
So resolution
I'm not seeing
is
that.
not so super.
It's yes, there you go. Right. It's they implemented that half of it. So
there you go.
But that is better. I mean, if you blew it up this big,
it's humongous. I can't remember the exact pixel count, but I think maybe it's in the article. But it's very big, but it's still blurry and out of focus a little bit, whatever. But it's pretty cool.
It's good to know what the limitations.
A little sharp, a little contrast fix.
Yeah, a Photoshop whiz could take this into Photoshop. And fix it.
I mean, I have used tools online to do this from time to time. This particular image, I'm going to forget because I did so many of them, but this one only took a few seconds. There was one, it went for 2 minutes.
Wow.
But it runs off the NPU. I know, a long time, and it didn't look any better. But being able to do this locally is great, honestly.
Anytime I can pin an NPU is a good day for me, right? Like I'm just going to run the big.
No, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna actually search my photo collection for images under a certain resolution, and I'm gonna play with this.
I'm away at them. Make that NPU work. It's been laying around.
You lazy sack. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Just take it
work for you, kid. Let's go.
Yeah, I like it. So there's more to come. They announced several other features. So we weren't expecting anything until November, and that was going to be in preview.
This is the AI we deserve, right? Is improvements in existing software.
May you always get the AI you deserve.
There you go.
It's a good proverb or something. It's
not a product. It's a product.
It's in a fortune cookie.
It's MSG, right? You just sprinkle a little yum yum on it.
Right. The white dust falls out of the cookie. The building clears.
Yeah.
And then there's something about Copilot Plus in there for some reason.
Yeah.
So the other one is Microsoft Store update, which is not super interesting, unfortunately, but just a more immersive trailer experience. So if you've ever looked through games, especially in the store, usually it kind of plays in the background of the page, and that kind of thing. I don't know. Who cares? That's not super interesting.
So more seizure inducing?
Yeah, right. Yeah. For the people who have no attention span whatsoever, we're going to do everything we can to make this store
distract you further.
Yeah. All right. So that's that. A couple of AI type things. And mostly actually all Microsoft related. Oh no, Leo had a nice break in there. So there's a lot.
I moved it again.
Sure this wasn't. No.
You guys you're throwing me off.
I know. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm calling it out. I'm sorry. I want people to share in my
sharing your suffering,
my reaction or whatever. So there was a report in the New York Times detailing not all of, some of the behind the scenes maneuvering that's occurring between Microsoft and OpenAI. I think it's fair to say they don't have the healthiest relationship.
Oh my God, no. It's terrible.
Microsoft, horrified by what happened with Sam Altman last November, I think it was, obviously. Had no warning that this was coming, no idea that it could happen. And then we saw the result. They created their own in-house AI. It's not a division. It's weird. The wording on it is kind of strange. It kind of exists outside of the normal Microsoft divisions, right? With
I think was very intentional.
Yes. Coming over from Inflection with basically kind of like Nokia. It's like we didn't buy Nokia. We didn't buy Inflection.
Just took all their people.
But we did, didn't we? We kind of got it all, right? So it's interesting. Microsoft has done it.
Remember there was that moment during the Sam Altman crazy where Sam was going to come join Microsoft and a whole bunch of people were going to go with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the threat. Said, maybe we've made a boo-boo. Maybe a little boo-boo.
Yes.
And I was talking about dark Satya because I like a dark Satya.
The good old days of Microsoft. I miss it.
There you go.
It would be like if they made a good Star Wars prequel, But
let's not get crazy now, Mr.
I will say the ease at which people come and go from OpenAI should be disturbing.
And by come and go, you mean go?
Mostly go. Well, Sam Altman came back, but yes, I don't know this.
He never
for a fact.
left. Are you kidding? He never went anywhere.
Well, but if you look at the core leadership of the company,
friend Satya.
I think they've all left at one point or another. I think they all.
Mira Murati just left, and she's.
That's what I mean. I mean, she was.
The best idea
was Altman's replacement, pro tem replacement.
You definitely wanted her as the public face. She was well spoken.
She was the face of the 4.0.
Unlike Mr. I am a human. I am not a robot. Okay, Sam, go recharge. Kind of a weird guy, but of course AI, who would be. So yeah, this company is scary, and it could destroy the industry, or it could just implode. It's like a black hole. I don't know what's going to happen here, but obviously,
the biggest indicator I've gotten here is they're trying to restructure into a normal company so they can go public.
And a normal company like
what they've made.
So this was that weird charter where they were partly nonprofit, partly for profit. Yeah. Then they realized, this is really expensive. We can't be a nonprofit.
It doesn't make sense.
And they raised $167 billion.
Yeah.
And now so I wonder if as the cap table is coming together, these senior people are not getting the cut they want. And so they're going to go
Sam Altman has famously said, I don't take any money. I have no stake in this.
But Leo, I mean, you say that. We can't believe.
I do say
people.
that.
No.
With me, it's true. I'll show you. I'll show you the check.
I'm sure he doesn't fly commercial. I mean, he must be taking some money.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, Steve Jobs famously got paid $1 a year.
Yeah. He did okay for himself, right?
But they gave him a G5.
Yeah.
So
he wasn't barefoot and living in the woods. That guy.
Yeah, no, and a new Mercedes every the lease ran out every 6 months.
Parking in a handicap spot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Look, Microsoft has done everything they can this past year to lessen their reliance on OpenAI. OpenAI has likewise started partnering with a lot more companies, which they were always able to do. This is something Microsoft knew and no surprise. But things are lining up a little differently here, and I think it all was triggered by that Sam Altman episode a year ago.
Yeah.
So,
and that's when he also got the observer seat, but now that's gone away too.
Yeah, I know. Right.
I think there's even more at play than that, because this turns out this AI is very, very expensive.
Yep.
It isn't the hockey stick that they were kind of claiming it was going to be.
There is
they had to raise a ton of money.
Yeah.
I wrote this.
You also got to make a product, right? Like weird.
Right.
I don't think that at this point they're saying,
I mean, if you're suggesting
have any
that
profit until
super
we have
resolution
AGI.
is not worth $13 million, I have an argument to make to the contrary. No. So I don't know. It's Microsoft's investment is sound. That's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone, Apple, talk
because
about
they're
Apple
not putting
in a moment.
money in, right? They're just putting Azure credits in for the most part, right? Or no?
Well, because OpenAI is worth so much now that if they sold their stake or whatever, they would come out ahead by
until it's
an order of
not.
magnitude.
By the way,
I know, but that's the secret of investing, Leo.
$49 billion is a bar.
Here's the problem:
get in
it's
at
all
the right
paper
time
because you can't sell you can't capitalize on it, or you tank the company.
That's right.
And so really, it's a long bet.
It's the ARM Qualcomm problem. We'll see what happens. It's interesting. Microsoft has the resources to do AI themselves. In the old days, this is a little bit like the Teams story where Gates kind of came out and said, "Guys, we already have these things in place. Why aren't we just doing this?"
Yeah.
You could make the same argument with AI, I think, and as of now, I think they're pretty much there. I'd imagine. We'll find out soon enough, I guess.
Especially when you keep bleeding talent like they've been bleeding.
Right.
Suleiman is gone, right? Like, what's
Suleiman
left in OpenAI?
Suleiman is the guy.
Sorry, not Suleiman. Siskovar.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Their top leadership from a year ago. Who's left?
Everybody.
I mean, most of the board's gone. Obviously.
And look, if you're one of those founding players and you're leaving OpenAI, something's seriously wrong. Like, this is supposed to be your win.
You're leaving OpenAI now.
You were there at the beginning. You've got founder stakes. You should have had founder stakes. You should be looking at this going, I'm about to cash in billions.
Yep.
And you're walking.
Instead, I think we don't know what their situation is, the company, obviously, but these people are very valuable right now. And you could argue that their market
I think they're getting offers that are unbelievable, but more importantly, Altman's not locking them in.
They're getting control.
Not showing them, here's your position, here's what you stand to make. Stay here and make great things.
Yeah. I mean, it could be the old Patriots playbook. It doesn't matter who the player is. We have the plan, and it will work.
We have the game. Yeah.
It works until it doesn't work.
Yeah, until there's nobody left. And I'm trying to figure out who's left. Like, who's even going to turn off the lights at this point?
Right. I don't know. Elon Musk, probably. So this is just a minor story, but OpenAI released an early version of ChatGPT for Windows, which by all accounts is just a web app, whatever. But I will just point out that it came several months after it released native apps for apps for Mac and iPhone. And why did we spend $13 billion on this thing for?
It's a little weird, isn't it? I mean, you have a web app, but
I mean, like, just realistically speaking, aren't most of your users on Windows? I know it's weird, but
but we just use the web, right? We just use the chat. But
why even put out a Mac app out? Why would you even make?
I don't understand why you put out an app. To be honest,
strange. Maybe they're trying. This might have been about courting Apple, actually. That might explain.
Yeah, because of course Apple doesn't have any AI yet, but will.
And they are partnering with them on the Siri stuff. So.
Yeah,
They have Apple Intelligence someday.
next week the first Apple Intelligence arrives, and it's just a little tiny bit of intelligence.
It's a little intelligent.
It's a little bit, but it's coming next year.
It's they should have called it Apple Flowers for Algernon. We'll see, but I don't know.
That's an obscure reference. I hope you got to be a smart, literate person to understand.
I don't know. Charlie for you movie lovers.
Charlie.
Not the ads, it's Charlie, not those, not that Charlie. I'm all over the map today. Sorry. Okay. So, we've talked a lot.
Let me just tell you something from the other side of 60. Pretty soon, all your references fall on deaf ears because
I'm going to run for
nobody's as
president.
old as
I got
you
this.
are.
I'm right there.
Yeah.
I'm weaving. Okay. So last year, the big conversation here around AI was the stuff from Build and Stevie Batish talking about the 3 app models, for AI and Copilot being the first one. Copilot is this,
outside.
and the beside the app thing is interesting, and it's the right way to come to market. You already have this thing you use, Microsoft Word, maybe, or Windows, whatever it is, and we can make it better by this thing on the side that's a Copilot that will work with you and kind of work within the app that you're using. Microsoft now, I mentioned the Copilot plus PC Wave 2, but before that, they also had a Copilot, really Microsoft 365 Copilot Wave 2 announcement, and they started reusing, but let's say they started using the term agents. And I'm starting to think this is kind of the phase, the second phase, if you will, of this push that Microsoft's making, right? That Copilot is this thing that works with you. So it's kind of sitting there waiting for you to command it. And then agents are basically these background processes, or I guess online services that work for you. Yeah. And that can get really intelligent. It's simple when you think about it. It's like a price alert on an item you want to buy.
Yeah.
Ping me when it hits a certain number, and I will buy it then, that kind of thing. It's obvious, right? Like this is, I think this is going to be
I would
big.
argue buy it if it hits this price. Then let me know you've done it.
Oh, there you go. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, that could be one way you could, right. Like a stock price or something, buy, whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's right. That would be one of the, so the first agent products, for businesses, but call it for end users, if you will, are coming out of Dynamics. So I fell asleep. I didn't really pay attention to any of it, but
that's a multi-billion-dollar business, Paul.
I'm going to call this
a big chunk of the world.
I hear you. I'm sure you're right. I will accept that as a fact.
And both guys used to think it's really important.
I think right. Well, and those guys both have a C in their title, so it's okay. Like it is important.
It's ERP, CRM, and serious accounting software. Like it's not sexy, but it's important.
I am not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying.
The problem is the word business, because Paul doesn't like that.
It's not business. It's some business. I'm okay with some of it. It's just
the dynamics.
CRM. Geez.
Oh, it's dynamics. Oh,
it's just stop. I mean, but look, it's going to come everywhere, and I may not write about this, or we'll see. But I'll just talk about it now. This reminds me of the Hailstorm port of the original .NET go-to-market vision, right? Which didn't end up happening.
We've just been declared a pernicious monopoly. Let's ask everyone for their credentials.
Exactly. Now, by the way, Hailstorm was actually a great idea. Maybe they weren't able to capitalize it on it at the time. We are in a much better place technologically for this to make sense today, obviously. And I think AI, in the same way that AI kind of makes search make sense, right? By not solving search, by just forgetting about the traditional ways we would try to find things, forget about metadata.
We should do that anymore when you can just have an answer.
Yep. We're just going to do this other thing. I think this can have the same impact. So, for example, I'll just keep using the price thing. People will install some sort of a extension in their browser to do like Amazon price comparisons or something. There's no end.
Too small. Why would I use Amazon? I have a device that goes looking for prices for a product.
Right. Yep. So this is potentially disruptive. It's again, it's a sleeper.
I would have gone to Amazon because it's convenient for me, but I've got software that's going to thumb all the sites.
That's right.
Amazon's only going to be one of them.
Listen, I know I'm not alone in this one. The doorbell rings. It's a package from Amazon. I ordered it. I have no idea.
Just don't know what it is.
I would say 75% of the time I'm not expecting it. It's a surprise. It's like a little Christmas every day or whateher.
It's the
imagine what it's going to be like with AI.
Show up 2 years later, right? You just no idea.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
right. I did.
Yep. I've had that happen.
Yeah.
But in the world of tomorrow, my doorbell's going to ring. I'm going to open it, and there's going to be a mountain of boxes there, and it's going to be because AI bought a bunch of stuff for me and said, "But you said, to do this thing at this time." I'm like, okay,
that's right.
I didn't mean buy all the things. So we'll see how this goes. But I think it's going to be big. I really do.
Yeah.
I think this is.
Now I need the agentic-based return system.
And I like that you have just tried to normalize the word agentic.
Oh yeah, though they've been using it like crazy, and I giggle every time.
If you say it enough in casual conversation, we're just going to accept it as a word. Yep. And which I guess is how it happens.
Agentic behavior.
Agentic. Oof. It's like agentic. Is it like, can we take it out, doctor?
Really?
No, it's okay.
It's agentic.
It's agentic. Oh no! How long do I have?
How it's smarter.
No, you misunderstand.
All right, now I do want to take a little break. You're watching Windows Weekly. It's Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell. Paul's doing the play-by-play. Richard's the color man today. I like it.
Isn't that true most days?
It's like who's on first routine over here.
As long as the color is brown, as in brown liquor, I think we're happy with that. Yes, that's coming up.
Somebody asked me the other day about my role at Windows Weekly. It's like Paul does all the writing and I make fun of it.
Honestly, it's just a formalization of our normal relationship.
Our normal conversations. It's
just scheduled now.
We'll be back with more in just a bit. First, a word from our sponsor, and the word is intelligence. Okay. What? Make your own joke up now. Well, we're brought to you today by Flashpoint. Okay. You know what? Governments have intelligence agencies, right, to gather intelligence about what's going on in the world. I think businesses need something similar for security leaders in business today. 2024 has been a year like no other. Cyber threats and physical security concerns have continued to increase. Now geopolitical instability is adding a new layer of risk and uncertainty. How do you plan in a world on fire? Well, by the way, I got some stats that's gonna set your hair on fire. Last year, there was a staggering 84% rise in ransomware attacks. 84% last year. Data breaches went up 34% last year. That's trillions of dollars in financial losses, threats to safety worldwide. That's why you need Flashpoint. Flashpoint empowers organizations to make the mission-critical decisions that will keep their people and their assets safe. It does this by combining cutting-edge technology with the expertise of world-class analyst teams. It's your own intelligence agency. And with Ignite, Flashpoint's award-winning threat intelligence platform, you get access to critical data, finished intelligence, alerts, and analytics all in one place. You can maximize your existing security investments and plan for what's happening in the next few months, in the next year, in the next 10 years. Some Flashpoint customers avoid as much as $500 million in fraud loss every year. $500 million. And many report a huge ROI, something like 482% ROI in 6 months. No wonder Flashpoint earned Frost & Sullivan's 2024 Global Product Leadership Award for unrivaled threat data and intelligence. I have a quote from a senior vice president of cyber operations at a big U.S. financial institution. You would know their name. They said, Flashpoint, this is a direct quote, Flashpoint saves us over $80 million in fraud losses every year. Their proactive approach and sharp insights are crucial in keeping our financial institutions secure. They're not just a solution. They're a strategic partner helping us stay ahead of cyber threats. It's no wonder Flashpoint is trusted by both mission-critical businesses and governments worldwide. Not everybody's got the CIA, but you can always get Flashpoint. Here's the deal. To access the industry's best threat data and intelligence, visit flashpoint.io today. That's flashpoint.io. We thank them so much for supporting Windows Weekly. Now, with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, let's continue on with is something exciting.
More Copilot.
I'm still convinced that you're just like secretly messing with me all the time.
I am secretly, not so secretly.
Not so secretly.
Not so secretly.
All the gaslighting all the time.
I
mean, sometimes the conspiracies are true. So I don't have this in the notes.
I mean, they aren't after you.
That's right. Microsoft added handoff support to its Office apps on Mac, iPhone, and iPad today, I believe. I just saw that headline flash by. So I haven't looked at that yet, but separate from that, they released new versions of OneNote on Mac and iPad that include Copilot, because Copilot has to be in everything.
Everything.
You know, you got your Copilot in my peanut butter.
Not a lot of love for OneNote these days, but if you need a Copilot, we got that.
Yep. Yeah, maybe it could make it work like Notion. Is that a thing? Does it do that? Because if it does,
because goodness knows Loop doesn't.
Jeez, Loop. What is this Loop you speak of?
What is this Loop you speak of?
Loop.
I'm using both, and it's like having the worst of both worlds.
Loop is the Zune of Notion. Yeah. I know. I'm sorry I said that.
So I've now come to appreciate I actually have to open my phone while I'm still using Loop on my PC to be sure that everything that's on my PC shows up in my phone Loop. It's just like the sync's not that reliable. It's bad.
I am okay. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this against my better judgment, but there have been a few moments, maybe more than a few this year, where I've done something on like the Apple side, and it's just worked. And I sort of, thought about the massive life of waste I've had. But so I finally wrote my iPhone review yesterday, or published my iPhone review yesterday. And one of the last things I had to do was get some screenshots off of it to put it in the review.
Right.
And I attached it with a USB cable, an Apple USB cable, to my PC. And I got this message that's been popping up a lot lately. It says the USB port may not provide enough power for the device you just connected. Try connecting it to power. Now, this is an iPhone. I don't understand. What are you talking about? Of course it provides enough power. I spent a better part of this week with another device going from PC to PC, trying to find one that had a USB port that was providing enough power, and I never did. So I had to go through a USB powered separately USB hub to make that happen. I'm not going to do that for the iPhone. So I started to think, how could I do this? Do I email these to myself? How do I do it? And I thought, wait a minute. There's an iCloud website. Maybe I could just get them from there. So I went to the iCloud website, signed in. Sure enough, there they were. I downloaded them. Great. And then I realized I needed one more. So I took the screenshot on the iPhone. And as I did it, something moved on the screen in front of me. I looked over and it appeared immediately in the iCloud website.
Immediately.
Think about that. Think about what I just said. The reason you have to think about it is because you probably use OneDrive, and what I just said is ludicrous. It's science fiction, but it just worked, and that is astonishing to me. Yep. So I'm sorry I said it. Please delete that part of the podcast. I don't want anyone to hear that. Okay. So it's just irritating. Like, whatever. The thing I don't use works great. Yeah. It's like the story of my life, I think. It's like when you get in the wrong line. What's the wrong line? The one I got in.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let me crap on Apple. So there was, there's a meme this year about how Apple is 2 years behind in AI, right?
Right.
And Bloomberg semi-confirmed it. Mark Gurman, citing several sources inside the company, there is some consensus that that's the time for that. They're 2 years behind. Now, this might be an overt marketing campaign on Apple's part. I know what does it really mean to be behind, right? So if it means shipping, okay, maybe, but maybe shipping isn't the greatest thing in the world.
I don't know if you've seen the stuff that has shipped so far.
You got you have your Pixel 9, right? You didn't travel to Europe with the time bomb. Right. So you flew safely in a plane. Everything's good.
Yeah, no more swelling for the moment.
You must have, did you get like a Gemini thing for a year for free or whatever? Did you get that deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your phone is exploding with AI. And
dripping.
That's a bit, okay. It's sopping.
Stuck to my shoe.
It's yes. So that's one way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Does it compile? Yeah. Put it in there. Who cares? So I think between the two, maybe there's a happy medium, but we're going to see. I will say the one thing Apple has gotten right is they've started talking about how they're behind, and they're doing it in a really smart way. There's a beautiful
it's an expectation setter.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, that's a good point. It's marketing, right? But Tim Cook did an interview, I think, with the Wall Street Journal or wherever it was. Wall Street Journal? Doesn't matter. Who cares? It doesn't matter. But he said, look, Apple we're not ever first. We would like to be best, and it's okay. That's good. Pithy, Craig Federighi, though, this is a beautiful quote. He says, those other chatbots are great if you want to ask a question about quantum mechanics and then have them write a poem about it.
Nice.
Oh, that is so good. But he says they won't open your garage or send a text message. And that's
by the way mine does. I set it up. I use the OpenAI interface through Home Assistant. It does my garage.
You're ruining the quote. The quote was funny. No, but his point is that they're looking at real world use case and actual customer benefit, right?
This is exactly what we expect from Apple.
Yes, and exactly what we should expect.
Apple said anything at all, but I think they freaked out. I think they realized if we don't say the WWDC now, we're not going to say it till next year.
I know, and then we look like we're out to lunch. Exactly. Yeah. So they had to. Yes, they had to. Their
but I don't think they were ready. I don't think they had anything to show. I think they were anywhere. 100%
true. I mean,
and I also think that now that they're looking at it harder, they're going, "Oh my, this is a mess."
There
so
was
now they're positioning.
Right. I mean, I think at the beginning in June, there was some expectation that obviously iOS 18 is going to ship with something, Yeah. No. And then, well, it did. I mean, not related to AI, but they're like, okay, well, we'll have, 0.1, 0.2 by the end of the year. Good. They're talking about 0.4 now, right? Craig Federighi in that interview talks about this is a years long thing. So, and that, by the way, that's realistically true. Of course it is.
Because that's what you need to do when you haven't actually started writing anything yet.
They're waiting for the AI to be good enough to write it for them. No, I don't. So, whatever. We'll see. So sometime by next WWDC, we'll all be watching this with these AI powered iPhones or something. I don't know. And they'll be in a better place. But I do look, the one thing they do get right is that thing I just told that story about, these, I am often aggravated about things that happen in Windows, right? I think this is not news to anybody. I've ranted a time or two, but the opposite of that, which is something I can only imagine, it's not something I experience that much, is when little things happen and they delight you,
Yeah.
And it happens. I mean, don't get me wrong, it does happen, but it's amazing. I mean, Apple, they're pretty good at it. Just give credit where it's due. So 2 years behind what? 2 years behind chaos? I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
The one thing they can't do is come out poorly.
Yeah, right.
Well, it makes sense. That's what they do. They wait. They never do it
right.
There are things like Apple Maps is a good example of them coming out poorly and doing pretty well in the long run.
Now it's great, by the way.
It's pretty good.
It's reliable.
I get in a car and I can't bring myself to put Apple Maps up. I don't know. Maybe it's me.
I have a lot of anecdotal evidence that it's quite good. In fact, in some cases, better than Google Maps. I've actually started using it in lieu of Google Maps.
Wow.
But you use
partly
Maps.
that's because
how do we trust
this
you?
This is the delight you were talking about, Paul. It shows up on my watch as it buzzes my wrist when it's time to turn. On my car, it shows up in the heads-up display. I mean, it's all of that integration works so nicely.
Let me give you the contrary. I was eating lunch today. My wrist buzzed. I looked down and it was a notification from Google Maps, which is interesting because I'm not mapping anything. And I swear to God, I'm not making this up. I looked on my phone to see what it was, and it said, "Hey, we're working on your timeline over here, and there's a gap. Can you tell us what you were doing during that time?"
Oh my God.
That's a priority.
Yikes.
What were you doing on the night of December 5th, 1997?
Who's that? What? Are you literally asking me to provide personal information about myself?
Go away.
Can you believe that? So I guess there are two ways to do
we have a
everything.
gap in our stalking of you. Can you fill it
Or
for
even
me?
like,
Well, I was driving to a friend's, and she said, "Oh, Google Maps will take you down this street. Don't do that. Keep going to go down this street." And I thought, interesting. I'll try Apple Maps. Apple Maps got it right. So I don't think it used to be it would always get it wrong.
I'm not arguing on Google's behalf, but I suspect because Google is so widely used, and including Waze, right? All the data.
Yeah, there's a lot more
Part
data.
of the way that they do things is to make it good for groups of people, not just for you. Like, in other words, we're going to send some people this way, some people this way.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think
see what happens.
I think they did not see what happened. Well, maybe I was but to kind of normalize the traffic a little bit. So it's better overall, but it may not be the most efficient thing for you personally. Maybe I'm making this up. I don't actually know.
Right.
That's what it feels like.
Socialism software.
Okay, I was going to say whatever it's like taking crowdsourcing and turning it back on the crowd almost. It's just
we know what's best.
It's a theory of mine. I don't know.
It's interesting. No, it would make sense.
You get a phone. You have to on an app by app basis. Like, am I going to let this thing send me notifications? So you have something like Uber. Like, obviously, I want Uber notifications. These are important. Your drive is here. Your drive is a minute away. Whatever it is. But those aren't the notifications I get. I get notifications for Uber Eats every day, and you can't turn that off.
Right.
You can, what this, we live in a bizarre world. That's all.
It's getting worse and worse.
It is. You know what? This is a topic in here, isn't it? Yeah. This is actually literally the next topic. So let me quickly just blow through this because Google sued by Epic, ordered to open up Play Store, blah, 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 whatever. We all know this. Obviously, they're going to stay that order so that they can appeal, and that's what happened.
Right.
And the judge in the case, the judge who issued the edict, decided that this was the right thing to, because of course it is. You can't give Google 60 days. I don't care how big and powerful you are. You can't just change everything like that. So I do believe they're guilty, but I also do believe they
gave him 3 years, though. He said, you have till 2027.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But really is go negotiate, make a deal.
Right. Which, by the way, during the trial,
is what he told them to do in the first
begged them to settle this case. Yep. It would be in Google's best interest to settle this case in the long run. But what I wanted to get to was, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's been a lot of weird stuff about Windows updates in Windows 11 this year. Have I mentioned it? I think it's come up a time or two.
No.
And I feel like 50% of what I talk about now or think about or look at and wonder about is how Microsoft releases updates, which is really just a futile undertaking because there's no way to rationalize it or understand it. I don't think they do. I think they just make it up as they go along, But it is very interesting to me that if you look at the mobile space this year, it's been just as chaotic, right? We talked about Apple Intelligence and their need to get that out the door and announce it even when it wasn't ready. And now being very explicit about we're going to do this now, this, and then this, and that. Very unusual. And then Google, the second year they tried to do this, but this year explicitly tried to get Android 15 out the door 2 months earlier than usual. Well, technically 30 days earlier than usual. So they could make the earlier Pixel launch. Failed. But not only did they not make it, they released more new products new phones at one time than ever before, all shipped with last year's Android. This thing came in late. It didn't just ship on the normal old time. It shipped 2 months late. Wow. It just came out. On my Pixel device, my Pixel 9, I was in the beta, and for the first time ever, you unenroll in the beta. You then go back to whatever the shipping version is. If you want, you can hold off the update, and you'll just get to, in this case, 15 when it comes out. That's not the way this worked. They were telling people they had to wipe their phones and go back to 14 for the first time, and then later said, "Well, actually, just wait until the release, and then we'll get to it, and we'll just keep ignoring the update message every single day for 2.5 months, maybe 3 months, whatever the time frame is. I have had to dismiss a notification on my phone telling me I need to wipe it, and it was only today that message changed, and they gave me the non-wipe version. I could just upgrade to stable. Yeah. It's been the weirdest year. They relate with the
migration tool. That's really interesting.
It has never happened before. And so for all the chaos that I see on the Windows side, and it is nothing but chaos, it's interesting. It's not, not for the same reasons, but this has been a really wild year for these platforms, for all the major personal computing platforms, all of them. So.
And at the same time, there's been the layoffs and sort of the almost psychological oppression of those workforce.
Yes.
This random layoff thing is really, and I wonder if we're starting to see it in the software.
Actually, there is one, what the one common element to this is AI, right? No, it really is. I mean, Windows was a mess before this, but remember the big event of 1 year ago now, was Microsoft rushing Copilot out the door into Windows by making it part of a monthly cumulative update. What would have been a major version upgrade, they just released like it was another Tuesday in September or whatever it was. And it's been crazier than ever since.
Yeah.
Right? So,
it has been nutty, but I just don't know that I want to.
It's been a crazy, crazy year.
Yeah.
It's hard when you kind of go, I don't get what's going on.
I don't either. That's what I mean.
If there's a rationality to it or there's an explanation for it.
Yep.
But then if things are happening and it's like, why? That's when conspiracy theories start to take off. And even me, and I think I'm a fairly cynical son of a gun. But even I am starting to think, what are they up to?
Yep. But I mean, you will never find any lack of evidence that most of this stuff is and they're pushing it like it's the second coming. You know, I wrote this in a comment in an article to someone's comment, and I said something like, you know, the amount of marketing and push that you see on AI is not commensurate with the value that you're getting from it. It is commensurate with the amount of money they have to spend on it.
That they have been spending. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a weird. I don't know that there's anything like this I can think of it in the history of the industry. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, most of the time when we're forcing a function like that, it's because we need to spend a bunch of money to get to a value we know about.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this time we're struggling with value.
You're just looking out. It's foggy. It might be okay.
Yeah. No, this is. You know, there's a delusion around AI because of science fiction that's made everything harder.
Yeah, that's right.
What scares me is I think that some of these AI people are true believers.
Yeah, we definitely, without a doubt.
And they're planning a world
in any.
They're planning a world where AI is really capable, right?
Right.
And I almost feel like they're thinking, the rest of you're expendable once this AI takes off.
Yeah. Well, that's how cultists work. The problem is that eventually, you know, the comet doesn't come. And
Right.
There's a room full of white
stuck
sneakers.
wearing bad Nikes and a jump.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. With an OpenAI logo on them. Yeah.
I worry. I really do. I think there are people out there. Sam Altman's probably one of them. Peter Thiel, Palmer Luckey, that are just kind of thinking, or Elon.
You notice they all have
We're
bro
just going to
names?
go to Mars.
Every one of those names you just said, it's like AI bros.
They're AI bros. That's the new thing.
Yep.
And I mean, Elon genuinely thinks we can live on Mars, and he would prefer to do that than fix what's going on here.
Right.
Which is problematic to say the least.
That's right. Yeah. 100%.
I'm trying to stay sane in a crazy world.
We all are.
Where are you? I've lost track.
It's time for an ad.
It's time for an ad. Okay. I'll take your word for it.
Yo, do an ad. I demand it.
I love it. Really, we're just here to serve Paul. That's really
it's like but we've gotten to the point where I'm like looking forward to an ad.
Oh dear. Well, I got a good one for you.
Yeah, that's a good product.
I got a really good one for you. This is something called Veeam. Do you know Veeam? Let me tell you something. If you don't know Veeam, you need to know Veeam. If you're in business, your data is everything. Without your data, customer trust turns to digital dust. I wrote a poem. That's why Veeam's data protection, and this is I want you to remember these two words, ransomware recovery, ensures that you can secure and restore your enterprise data wherever and whenever you need it, no matter what happens. And when I say no matter what happens, even if you get bit by the worst possible thing, ransomware. Veeam is the #1 global market leader in data resilience, trusted by, this is an amazing stat, over 77% of the Fortune 500. Over 77% of the Fortune 500 uses Veeam to keep their businesses running when digital disruptions like ransomware strike. I mean, I don't even want to focus on ransomware alone because there's so many things that could happen, right? You need data resilience. You need to have a plan. Veeam lets you back up and recover your data instantly no matter where it is, across your entire cloud ecosystem. And with Veeam, you can proactively detect malicious activity, so you can stop the bad guys cold before you get bit by the ransomware. Remove the guesswork by, and this is really important, automating your recovery plans and policies. You do have recovery plans and policies, right? So many don't. Get real-time support from ransomware recovery experts. Look, you need Veeam. Data is the lifeblood of your business. Protect it. Get data resilient with Veeam. V-E-E-A-M. 2 E's. V-E-E-A-M. Go to veeam.com to learn more. I don't want to see you in the headlines. Go to veeam.com right now. We thank them so much for supporting Windows Weekly and the good work that Paul and Richard are doing, keeping us all up to date on what's going on in the world of Windows. Now the moment at least 10% of you are waiting for the Xbox segment.
The Xbox segment.
I'm riled by this because I know
Here it comes. Wait a minute. Kevin has to play this.
We got the sting.
It's the
backwards Halo music. Yeah. Backwards Halo. It's like Bizarro
creepy.
World in Superman.
It is Bizarro World. Hey.
Bizarre.
Oy.
So I was going to say 10% want the Xbox segment, but the other 90 are just waiting for Richard to talk about brown liquor. It's okay.
Well, between the two of you, we got the coverage.
Just like Steve Jobs, between the Mac and the PC, we have 100% of the industry.
Actually, this first story really excites me because I am an Age of Empires fanatic.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I love this game. I mean, I haven't played it in a while, but this was for a long time my go-to.
I don't have any idea if this is any good or not, but Age of Empires mobile is now live. You can go get it.
Where can I get it? I'm getting it.
iOS and Android, so in the store.
Put it on my new iPad.
It's in the Epic Game Store, Leo, so you really get it there. And then
that's everywhere you want it.
Speaking of Bizarro World, I don't know. Some games.
It could be a touch game, I think.
So I think we talked about this briefly maybe a week or two ago. Diablo Mobile is fantastic.
Yeah.
So
love it. Yeah.
Maybe.
That was a really great team that put that version together. Like it's not really Diablo. It
was problematic in the way though that it made you continue to give them money.
Oh well.
But that's what games are now. I mean that we just accept the fact that
be fed, right?
Pay to play is a thing, right? So
well, somewhat by the way, I blame Apple a little bit for this because they don't allow you demos. They don't allow you to give people a game for a week and see if they like. Yeah. You have to either buy it or not. And so what happened, it really drove a market of freemium games. Yeah. So people could download it and play it for free. But at some point you got to monetize. So they had all these, in-game purchases. So I think Apple's
if you could,
kind of
I can't speak to how Diablo does this, but if there's a version where you pay and don't have to worry about that, I mean.
No, there's not.
There isn't, yeah. So.
And Diablo Immortal really, I mean, I've been playing it without giving them a penny.
Right.
But it
can be irritating. Yeah. No, even something like Duolingo, which is not a game, but is gamified, becomes irritating because of all the ads if you don't just
interrupting.
Right. I want to do this with Windows and all the junk that's in Windows.
I will always pay up front a flat fee rather than get pinged every 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm downloading Age of Empires right now.
And I'm very curious to hear what you think about this.
I will let you know within seconds. This is still a Microsoft game, though, right?
Yeah, they own it. Yeah.
So it's so funny because so many people want to play Age of Empires that there is Forge of Empires, Game of Empires. Yes. There are so many clones.
Another problem with the app stores on mobile.
Oh yeah,
this kind of junk.
Yeah.
Very carefully.
When you only have one place to go to get something, that's how that happens, right? Yeah. You wouldn't see this out on the web or whatever. I mean, you would see a little bit of it, but I think that heightens that effect as well. You want people to click on the wrong thing, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's one strategy, I guess, for making a game.
It's a fairly big game because it's taken a while to download.
Yeah.
It should. It's a beautiful game.
Should be. You're downloading.
I think it would look nice on an iPad. I think this makes sense, actually. It's touchy. It's a mouse. It's a mouse click.
It's touchy. Don't be touchy.
It's touchy. It's a touchy game.
I mean, it's a couple of months ago, but I looked at some what I would call kind of AAA or former AAA games on mobile. I mean, these things these devices are awesome now. I mean, so Call of Duty
higher
mobile,
resolution you realize.
Yeah. And and they have, this has
and the processors are awesome. Yep, the GPU stuff's great. Apple's got a great hardware accelerated API.
The new iPad.
You could just watch that battery drain.
That's true. That's true.
Oh,
you know what you won't hear on
downloading
an iPad is the fans. Right?
I'll put it
there's
on the new M4 iPad too. That might even be better than this.
Oh, sure.
Here it is. It's playing.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Where they hid the volume.
You could video out from this thing with USB-C.
Oh, I can actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it up on the screen.
Barbarian raiders brought destruction and chaos to the land. Crown Princess Joseph broke through the siege with the last remnants.
It's kind of
Wait,
amazing.
is this the new season of Ring of Power? What am I watching?
It really seems like that. Crown Princess Josephine. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Roberta Williams is back.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, just think how we felt about this 30 years ago. We were playing a little
Think
graphical.
about an animated sequence that has essentially nothing to do with the actual game.
Well, that's true too. I always skip those. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Let's do some Halo news.
Yeah, so a week or two ago, we were talking about Halo, the Halo Studios switching over to the Unreal Engine, but the other entry in this space, of course, is Unity.
It doesn't ask you to write C++.
Yeah, Unity hasn't screwed up their whole lives over the past year, but they're back, and they're not doing that controversial runtime fee anything. That didn't.
Yeah, funny how they backed off on that.
I believe they fired their CEO, right? Didn't they? Or he left anyway.
It's encouraged design.
Yeah, so they have a new version of the Unity engine. But speaking of which,
This has been coming for a while.
yeah, Unity 6. During, I think it was yesterday's Qualcomm keynote, Tim Sweeney was on, he might have been in video, not on stage, but he was there talking about, there's an Unreal Engine version for mobile that, looks awesome, because that's the reality of these chipsets now. They have incredible graphics. So I think this is going to be a golden era for mobile gaming, unless you're Netflix. I didn't write this up, but I will go back to when they originally announced this. I don't understand Netflix being in gaming personally, but okay,
sell more stuff to their customers.
Well, I mean, Apple was a computer company, and then they became Apple, and they do other things. I mean, they're all.
Hey, Chick-fil-A has gone into streaming video. I mean, it's
all right, fair enough.
It's a weird world. Like I said, I don't get any of it.
I think of this as the breakfast cereal phenomenon. Once you have a breakfast cereal, that's where you've gone off the rails completely. So, look, it's entertainment, fine, but don't put it in the Netflix app.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I haven't written this up, but they started up a big AAA game studio, hired a bunch of really famous people from other game studios. We're going to release AAA games on Netflix, and they just closed it down. So
I bet it was harder than they thought.
Yeah, this semi-verifies what I've always kind of believed, which is that they can't make money doing this. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I think
it's harder than you think.
I am, by the way, this is coming straight off the iPad, and you're right, video right into HDMI.
That's pretty slick.
And this is the game.
Also not Age of Empires gameplay.
No, I've never seen any of these cutscenes. This is bizarre, but whatever.
Well, I assume at some point it's going to, go back to that mile-high view of the place.
Yeah, this is So I have to find the holy sword.
Oh, this is it. This is actually what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's zooming out. Okay, there you go.
That was just a cutscene, and so now
fine.
I'm
actually that integration between the cutscene and what it looks like was pretty
better
good.
than expected. Yeah, better.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
So here we are, and I can border exploration, tap to repair the house. Okay. I can zoom in. Oh, see, it keeps going to cutscenes. But this is
you can skip
the
it.
training. This is the,
Let me do another walkthrough. Click the button up on the top.
No, stop.
I just triggered PTSD.
Stop. Yeah, this. So can I zoom? No, I can't pitch to zoom, which is kind of too bad because that was how examine the dead bodies. Oh, there we go. We have to examine the dead bodies. It told me to.
I would have given my left leg as a child playing D&D.
I know.
To have had this kind of a game.
No
I
kidding.
know.
Yeah.
I had
That's
like an
cool.
8-bit Bard's Tale. You would go down the hallway so slow. It was like, grandpa with a walker, and it would have to redraw every single frame. It was horrible. Look at this thing.
See if I've got the volume up. It's trying to do the volume through the HDMI. That's what's going on. Yeah, so I don't know.
Not to totally move away from the whole Unity thing, but I think Unity 6 might be the equivalent of Windows 11.
Ooh.
Because Unity 5 came out like 2015, and they've been doing annual updates ever since. I don't know why they decided to declare a new version number.
Okay.
But they've kind of changed the pattern.
Right.
So I don't know, what that was about, other than obviously Unreal Engine shipped a new version, which was genuinely, a revolutionary version of Unreal Engine.
Oh, we're having some combat here. We got some combat going on. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm supposed to do anything.
Click faster.
I noticed this game is demon free. Is there a reason we're not playing Diablo?
This is peaceful Diablo.
This
is
all I know is we're playing video games on a podcast.
Okay, let's stop doing that. I don't want to.
I don't think
Australian fans.
I don't know that was a complaint. I think it was just an observation.
Other than it all.
Well, I always am doing that behind the scenes. So
there you go.
Nice. That's what I used to do on work calls until they made me actually be on video.
Yeah.
So you are playing Call of Duty, are you?
Can't make me wear pants.
Yeah, right. Microsoft announced a rev of its Xbox wireless headset. So this is basically, there was a wireless version, a wired version. It's a little expensive, but it has, I don't know, it's always had, I guess it already had Dolby Atmos. I wasn't sure if that was new, but voice isolation, bigger battery, Bluetooth 5.3, whatever that gets you. I assume that has something to do with Quick Connect or whatever. So I don't know.
Do you need the Xbox One? I mean, can't you just
that's
go
what why not just go with a good pair of headphones?
One of the Logic packs, or
some people like the brand. I don't know, but yeah, I wouldn't buy an Xbox brand.
That was not the brand I would think of. Like if I was,
I'd go for the.
What do you like, Jabra? Do you use a Jabra? What do you use?
I've used Jabra. Remember, I'm part of the PC Master Race, so I would never do any.
That's
of those.
right, of course.
So what do you use? Like when you fly, what do you use when you fly? You must put headphones on.
I got a pair of Bose earbuds.
There you go. Yeah.
Those are pretty good. I just, Apple just, this new 8.1 that you were talking about that's coming out on Monday, we think, has a new capability with the AirPods to turn them into hearing aids.
I know. Genius.
Oh, wow.
I wear hearing aids, so I was actually very curious because my hearing aids cost $7,000.
Wow.
Oh boy.
And I could buy several hundred AirPods.
You could afford to lose a few AirPods.
Yeah.
You just buy them.
So I set it up. I got the beta, downloaded it, set it up. I'm going to talk more about it on MacBreak Weekly next week, but I wanted to see. And there's one big issue that I don't like. It works. And in fact, pretty much works like hearing aids. You do a hearing test. The hearing test was wrong. It said, you have no hearing loss. I don't know what you're talking about. Wrong. But anyway, I put them in. Yeah. And you can hear the world around you, and that's nice. But with real hearing aids, they don't occlude your ear, so you hear everything around you. They're just amplifying the voices.
You're relying on their whatever they call their pass-through technology.
With Apple, it seals your ear, and so everything, all the audio has to come through the microphone.
Right.
I did not like that. I thought that was not a good. So for those who are thinking,
very Apple Vision Pro-ish, right? It's like, don't worry, we'll give you what reality.
We'll take care of it.
Well, this is kind of a standard earbud issue in a way, right? Like you.
Well, and I'm wearing sealed in-ear monitors right now because I don't want to hear background noise. I want to hear exactly what's going on the podcast.
Sure.
Right.
But when you're wearing hearing aids, you're out and about. You're in the real world. You want to hear the real world. It's amplifying the human voices so that you can understand them.
Do you hear yourself? You must hear yourself through there. It's monitored.
You do a little bit. That's a problem.
Well, I would want to. I mean, I find it odd when you can't. Right?
The more modern hearing aids are getting faster and faster. They're putting better processors in. So it used to be a little chorusing, where you hear the voice twice. You hear it through the hearing aid, but you also hear it through your body.
Oh boy, it's like a translation almost.
Well, but it's not so slow that it's like an echo. It's more like a chorus, like two people singing a little bit off.
A little off, yeah.
And that distance has gotten, but it's gotten better and better and better as the processors have gotten faster.
Right.
So instead of sounding like this, it doesn't. It sounds. It doesn't sound. You immediately get used to it.
This was the conversation that, Richard, you had with Chris Sells about the glasses, the problem of getting processor, whatever, into these small form factors. Hearing aids have been around for a long time, so it makes sense that they're kind of.
Well, and audio needs a lot less compute.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bottom line was, no, I don't think the AirPods are a replacement for hearing aids. Yes, they're a lot cheaper, and for some people they'll be helpful.
I think, right.
They're like a gateway to hearing aids.
Sometime in my 40s, I walked into a crowded room and someone was talking to me. And what I could hear clearly was not the person talking to me. It was someone over there, And it was this weird kind of moment of like, what's going on here? You must have, everyone hears differently, I guess. But we must have all had that experience where you hear maybe a voice here and it sounds like it's someone right there, and you look and he's over there maybe, or it's off somehow. And I feel like that would be a problem with these things, but I don't know. I mean, I'm intrigued by this.
Well, you'll be old soon, and you can try them. And
like Tuesday.
To be honest, it's appalling that hearing aids cost so much money, thousands of dollars.
But I do think,
and they're not usually covered by insurance or Medicare doesn't cover it.
Which is ridiculous because this happens to basically everybody.
And you need it.
Yeah,
you need it. There's a lot of evidence that if you start to lose your hearing,
sorry, it's a pre-existing
but it also speaks
condition.
to why those earbuds are useful, because they give you the idea, hey, your hearing could be better.
That's true.
Go get some
and the hearing test is good. And
I have
I guess
friends who refuse to acknowledge they can't hear anything.
Exactly. There are a lot of people who won't wear them, but who might wear AirPods all the time.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing is you have to wear AirPods all the time, and your wife's going to say, "Are you listening to me?"
When you first said that, I that's what flashed in my brain. Like, we've all been out in the world and seen someone just talking to space, but they're talking through earbuds or something, right? And so at some point that becomes normal.
Yeah, might be schizophrenia, might be Bluetooth. You don't know.
We got used to it with Bluetooth.
Well, but how awkward would it be?
The way the AirPods look with a little drip of white, I thought, no, that's terrible. But we all got used to it. Everybody.
Well, except one thing. You're used to it because we know what they're doing. But when you're right in front of me and we're talking and you're wearing two earbuds, I'd be like, are you listening to me?
You'd have to say, I'm using these.
We're going to have another level of acceptance here. It will happen. I mean, obviously these things are really pervasive.
Yeah.
So before we move on, just want to say real quick, the new Call of Duty is coming out this week.
So we won't see much of you for
Friday.
a while. Yeah.
Well, I might set this one out.
Where is the Xbox right now?
Which Xbox? You mean my Xbox?
That's telling.
It's at home. But as I alluded to earlier,
I'm sorry, don't you own that place in Norte? Isn't that home?
Okay. Yes.
You don't have an Xbox in
where are you leading me, Your Honor? What do you mean?
Trying to figure out if there's an Xbox in Mexico.
There is not, but I have several PCs, and at least a few of them can play games really well.
There you go. Yeah.
So
that's interesting. Now you were giving up Call of Duty for a while, but that's over. Was that?
No, it's not. I'm actually no. I have not played Call of Duty. So
wow,
still do.
I don't see that changing.
Good.
It's good when you acknowledge that
accepting you have a problem, or
you have a problem and you don't have control over it.
Got to be one of the first stages of something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
But
for those of you who don't want to admit you have a problem, the game's out on Friday, so enjoy that.
Nice.
I may have an Age of Empires problem now.
Just got a brand new problem today.
It looks like it will be a fun mobile game.
We all have our thing.
Our show today, we'll take a break, and then the back of the book's coming up. Brown liquor, tips, picks, that kind of thing. But before we do that, let me tell you about our sponsor, Experts Exchange. It's funny, when we first talked to them on the phone, I said, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time. I used to use Experts Exchange. During the radio show, people would ask a question, and Experts Exchange was like my backup expert. And I don't know, I lost track of it over the years, as maybe you did. Other sites came and went and so forth. But I went back to Experts Exchange, and I have to say, the quality of the answers, the quality of the information is unbeat. It's a network of trustworthy and talented tech professionals. You can go there to get industry insights and advice from people who are actually using the products in your stack. And that beats paying for expensive enterprise-level tech support. And They are the tech community for people tired of the AI sellout. And I like that. No AI, man. Experts, just real people, real experts with real answers. Experts Exchange is ready to help carry the fight for the future of human intelligence. With Experts Exchange, you get access to professionals in over 400 different fields. Coding, of course, that was one of the things I went there for. Microsoft Azure, DevOps, AWS, and on and on and on. And here's the thing. Not only is there no AI, there's no snark. So many of these other sites where you go and they go, oh, that question again. Oh, we aren't going to answer that. There's sites, they'll close it. They'll say, oh, no, we answered that. Never mind, go away. Or they'll say, well, you could do it that way, but I think you should do it this way. No, not an Experts Exchange. Duplicate questions are encouraged. There are no dumb questions. The contributors there are real tech junkies, people like us, who love it graciously answering all questions. They've realized that the true benefit of becoming an expert in an area is that you could pass it on to others, not patronizingly, not condescendingly, but genuinely helping other people, lifting them up, paying it forward. One member said, I never had ChatGPT stop and ask me a question before. That happens on EE all the time. Experts Exchange is proudly committed to fostering a community where human collaboration is fundamental. I think community is a big word in my book these days, and humans. Only we can do that, right? Their expert directory full of experts to help you find what you need, including, I'm proud to say, some people who listen to our shows like Rodney Barnhart. He's a VMware vExpert, regular Security Now listener, Cisco design professionals, executive IT directors, and more. And really important, that we see this more and more. LinkedIn started doing it. Reddit's been doing it. Many of these platforms betray their contributors by selling the content to train AI models. X does it. At Experts Exchange, not X, Experts Exchange, your privacy is not for sale. They stand against the betrayal of contributors worldwide. They have never and promise they will never sell your data, content, or your likeness. They block and strictly prohibit AI companies from scraping content from their site to train the LLMs. Their moderators strictly forbid the direct use of LLM content in their threads. You're getting human answers from human experts. That's great. Experts deserve a place where they can confidently share their knowledge without worrying about some company stealing it to increase shareholder value. And humanity deserves a safe haven from AI. Experts Exchange, real people who are there because they want to support you and help you. And by the way, it's kind of everybody helps. So it's not just you go there to ask a question, but then you may answer a question too. That's what's so great about it. It's really a helping community. Experts Exchange. They believe that you will find this so valuable that they have actually said, we're going to give you 3 months free, no credit card or anything, just 3 months free so you could try it out. So you don't have to take my word for it. Visit e-e.com/twit to learn more. 90 days free. e-e.com/twit. Experts Exchange. And now back to our experts, starting with Paul Thurrott with his tip of the week.
I'm not sure I've ever recommended a podcast, given that this is a podcast. But I mentioned I was listening to one of Richard's podcasts this week, and I don't listen to a lot of tech podcasts, but I listen to Richard's, and Scott Hanselman has a podcast I like, but I kind of select the episodes. And Scott and Mark Rozinovich just started a podcast, which is fascinating to me. Now,
that's superstars. Wow.
It's not these guys are great. They're great together. These are short episodes. They're not really competing with anything. It's just interesting to me that they're doing it at all. So,
they did a couple of stage things at Build, and that worked.
Yeah, so they usually have a little comedy routine thing going. Yeah. It's good. Now that Jeffrey Snover's gone, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so going to pick on Marcinovich.
Yeah.
Nice. Scott and Mark learn too, and then it's different stuff.
Yeah, ... Right, exactly. And it's not going to be, who knows what it's going to be, actually. I was going to say, it's not like, honestly, super technical, which I think is kind of the point. It's kind of, although it's, tech adjacent, right? It's interesting. So I just
good
throw it out there. Yeah.
Good tip.
And I think
we love both of those guys. They're fantastic.
Yeah. No, they're great. They're great. I think we talked about Notebook LM, the Google tool week 2 ago, whatever it was. It is now generally available. This is the thing that you throw text at. It could be a giant document, whatever, and it turns it into a podcast with 2 AI created hosts that banter and talk about. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Sure, one of them sounds just like me.
Yeah. It's
a little insulting because it sounds a little bit too much like our shows.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh God, really? Do we sound like that? Wow.
Yep, we do. So
you transformed a Sinofsky blog post into a podcast.
Yeah, you should just play the beginning of it. It's crazy. It's
that's funny.
No, not that one. Sorry, go. Yeah, just click the video. Like we're doing it again.
Okay, tell me what to click.
What?
The
video. It's the video.
This video?
Yes.
Okay, here we come.
Okay, so
don't reboot the computer.
For a sec. You're cruising on your Windows PC, right? But it feels like super snappy, like your smartphone. No waiting around, just smooth sailing. That was kind of the whole idea behind Windows on ARM, WOA we're calling it.
ARM.
Ooh.
That's how you can tell
That was not a human. That's like Connie Chung saying dose.
Yep. I'm trying to remember there's an audio book where they did something very similar, and it was the whole book. So imagine it's a book about Windows and ARM, and they mention it 11,000 times and say ARM 11,000 times.
Oh, I hate that.
It was something like that. Yeah, it was
and
crazy.
Today we're going way back, like 2012, back to Microsoft when they first jumped into this whole thing.
Yeah, the tech world was like freaking out with excitement. And lucky for us, we get this inside scoop.
I have to say the voices are really, 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 really well done.
Yep.
And they don't sound mechanical or
I know, it's
machine-like. I remember Castle Wolfenstein. Oh, this is really good.
It was by Steven Sinofsky. He was the big cheese at Windows back then. And he spills the tea on how they made WOA happen, the engineering craziness, all of it.
You said it. I mean, ARM processors, they were just starting to get big in phones and tablets.
You'll
but
never get
Windows,
over
on
it.
this new hardware, that was a whole other rodeo.
Oh, totally a gamble. See, ARM and by 86, what most PCs use back then.
Okay, enough.
I know it's tough. But seriously, the voices are amazing, and it's so natural. Except for the ARM bit.
Gosh, they probably fixed that by now, I mean, they keep tweaking it.
That's a friend of mine once referred to our boss as, you almost sound human. It's fascinating.
This is wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Here we are.
Here we are. The AI
I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's a train. Let's see. So, okay. So I mentioned Qualcomm talking about more and more apps going native on ARM. They had some things that weren't super interesting to me, but they talked about Affinity Photos, which I do use myself and pay for.
Yep.
If you have Affinity, you might be able to do this anyway, but if you have or don't have maybe Affinity Photo 2, there's a beta version that you can download from their site directly. I think you have to sign into your account, but it has some new AI-based features that work off the MPU in a Snapdragon X-based computer. Now, I may be also against a x64 computer. I'm not sure. Qualcomm was the one promoting this, so there's probably more to that story. But object selection and subject selection, which are two pretty obvious features. This is actually interesting to me because this is where Affinity Photo falls apart today compared to Photoshop. So when you want to do things like select objects, it's actually not too good at it. Anyway, I have only used this a little bit, but you should, if when you buy Affinity products, you get the updates as long as they don't do a major version upgrade. So this is 2.6, so it should be coming to everybody, I think, next month. And then also Opera One R2 came out today. So this is the new version of that company's flagship web browser, which has a few new AI features as well. But honestly, I guess it's AI best technically, but I think the most interesting feature is the new dynamic themes that they have, which include glass effects, which will be triggering for us in the Windows community because it goes back to, the Aero Glass stuff from Longhorn and then Windows Vista, et cetera. Yeah. But it's a pretty browser. The AI stuff, I don't know. It's interesting. They introduced like a command line environment for their Aria chatbot. So you control / and then you can type commands. It has generative image generation and understanding. So the second one is where you either point it at a web image or upload an image to it, and it will help you understand what it is you're looking at, which is a conversation I have with myself a lot, where I look at something on the web and say, what the hell am I looking at? I'm not sure Arya could actually answer that question, but,
Just ask it, why?
Yeah, why?
Why
The
do you
existential
exist?
question. Those are the questions I cannot answer. They'll say, why would Microsoft screw up Windows 11? I'm like, I can't answer that. I can just detail the ways in which they do it.
The ways in which they do it. That's okay. I'll take
I
that.
have no answers.
I do like
just
Affinity
questions, yeah.
Photos. I use it on my iPad.
I like it a lot.
It's great.
I
it
use
makes
every
you
day.
wonder why buy Photoshop, frankly.
Yeah, they don't have a monthly bill. I kind of don't like that. But other than that, Affinity's pretty good. Yeah.
Just wish they'd bill me monthly.
Yeah.
Said no one ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Opera.
Did Opera.
Oh, you did it?
Yeah.
Okay. That means, you know what that means?
It's me.
Run his radio time.
Yeah. Had a conversation with my friend Jim Duffy, working for a new company called Island Systems. And we were talking about using Azure Virtual Machines or Azure Virtual Desktops, so isolated client instances, for security purposes. Now, he'd gone down a very particular path on this, which is getting compliant with the new government supplier regulations, because the U.S. government's getting very big on supplier attacks. And so there's a new specification called the NIST SP 800-171 security standard, which has over 100 requirements in it.
Wow.
And so, if you're a supplier to the U.S. government, it's pretty serious business. You need to be compliant with this in the next year. And that includes getting audited for it. And that's not necessarily what I wanted to talk to him about. It's good that there's a standard, because that's a very high bar, but then actually talking about how to get there and talking about truly securing data, including with remote workers. And so having virtual desktops so that you basically control all the information in the cloud through your security perimeter with the cloud is pretty compelling. The other part about it that I really appreciated from Jim is saying, hey, you don't have to fix your entire company's net. You can take this high security project you're doing and package it up this way, and it's still a company, but it's got a higher security perimeter than the rest of it. So it sort of spoke to a way for us to move quickly in key areas and then see the advantages of this, of really protecting data, of being ransomware resistant, of dealing with all those issues and saying, do I want to propagate this across the rest of the company? And it's based on a very significant government standard from NIST.
Uh-oh. Are we...
I'm with you. Bonk?
Okay.
Are we bonky?
You had a little ka-chonk.
He's 8-bit.
I'm all the way from
Rich,
Poland.
It's good.
What are you going to do? Do you need me to redo anything?
No, just keep going. You're good.
All right. Well, I popped down to the bar today and picked up a couple of ounces of Nectar Dior from Glenmorangie, one of my favorites. And the reason I did that is that we were out for dinner, a bunch of us, the speaker cadre for this particular conference. And at the end of the meal, when they asked me what I wanted for dessert, I said whiskey, which is hardly a surprise. That's a pretty normal thing for me. And when I looked at the list of whiskeys, they had several of the Glenmorangie versions. Now, we've talked about Glenmorangie before. I did it a few weeks ago talking about the Quintus Rubin, which is the port-aged version. The Nectar Dior is a Sauterne version. So Glenmorangie's up in the far north of Scotland, nominally considered a Highland, although its style is much more like the Spey. It's actually up past Dalmore. There had been whiskey made there literally for hundreds of years. Officially, that area was making whiskey starting in 1843 by a fellow named William Matheson, when he actually bought up a couple of giant gin stills, really, really tall ones. They call them the giraffes because they're over 5 meters high, about 17 feet tall. And it's important to note that in 1843, the coffee still had been invented about 10 years before. And so a lot of the gin producers were switching over to column stills, the coffee stills, because they were more efficient. And so these old style gin pot stills were cheap, easy to come by. And so Matheson grabbed a pair of them and made the Morangie distillery, although he would later rename the place Glenmorangie, meaning field of tranquility, if you squint close in Gaelic. So good enough. And you'd think that their logo would be the giraffe, and they do celebrate World Giraffe Day, having a couple of stills named after giraffe, but their logo is actually based on the Cadbol stone from the Pix, which we talked about in the previous show. Very cool bit of technology. So producing since the 1850s, converted up to steam in 1887, which is very early, getting rid of the risk of explosions. And then it was sold to McDonald and Murr in 1918. They are a large operation, 10 dunnage buildings right along the water there, plus some extra rack rooms. And they have been doing tours since the 1990s. They've been doing single malt since they became cool. The company was acquired by Louis Vuitton Moët Hennessy, LVMH, in 2004. They age in bourbon casks. This particular style they call the core range really came about in the early 90s. And their whole idea was that they aged in bourbon casks, primarily Jack Daniels and Heaven Hill, for 10 years. And then some they would bottle as a 10-year-old just aged in bourbon. And then they would do finishing ages. So La Santa did 2 years in sherry. Quintus Rubin does 4 years in port. And Nectar d'Or 2 years in Sauterne casks. That's a sweet dessert wine from France. There are other additions on top of that. And in the whiskey industry, this was sort of looked down on as kind of a tacky party trick. Rather than committing to one right way to make their whiskey, here they were doing all these different things and sort of like pick and choose your thing. But the reason I had Nectar d'Or at the party was that, and brought this whole story up, is that when I went to order whiskey, a bunch of other folks stopped and sort of looked at me like, ooh, Richard's ordering whiskey. What are you ordering? And I said, well, I think I'm going to get the Glenmorangie. And I told this story about how they did all these things. And they actually happened to have both the original 10 and the Nectar d'Or on the list. So I got both. And so you're able to taste the 10-year and then taste the Nectar d'Or and see that those couple of extra years in the Sauterne casks really did something cool to them. So, this is a light whiskey. The wine casks really add a sort of fruitiness to it. Just what you'd hope, a little sweetness. It's cool. It's really nice drinking. Now, Nectar d'Or is relatively easy to come by. It's about $75 US from a place like Total Wine or Bevmo, 45% ABV. The Sauterne casks are a bit smaller, so the contact level is fairly short in that. But it's not going to be around much longer. It looks like Glenmorangie is moving on. And this has happened to a few of the other editions as well, where originally this core range was all 10-year-old bourbon casks with a couple of years or maybe 4 years of finishing casks. Today, when you go on the website, you'll find that Nectar d'Or isn't there anymore. It's now called The Nectar, and it's a 16-year. So apparently they now have had these bourbon casks laid up long enough that they're putting 14 years into the bourbon cask, and then they're doing 2 years in sweet dessert wine casks. Although this new edition that they're calling the Nectar is actually both Sauternes, Monbazillac, which is also French, Moscatel, which is a Spanish dessert wine, and Tojaki, which is a Hungarian dessert wine. So they're sort of mixing and matching and pulling them together to make something new called the Nectar. I don't have pricing in the US yet. It's only available in Europe so far, running about 80 euros if you can find it. But I imagine in the next year or so, we will see the Nectar appear in the US as well. And that's what I got. Thanks, Leo.
Great talking to you, Richard. Thank you for being here. Richard Campbell in Warsaw. Are you coming home soon?
Yes. Next, leaving for home tomorrow, and the next show will be from home.
It's amazing. He was drinking and talking at the same time. That's our Richard. Hey, that's it for Windows Weekly. Richard will be back from Warsaw next week in beautiful British Columbia. Paul, you're going to stay in Mexico City for a little bit.
Yeah, till right before Thanksgiving.
Nice. Well, we shall communicate. Do you want me to ship you the Snapdragon Dev Kit now, so you have a little gift waiting for you, or
no? I would wait just in case. I don't want my neighbor to hobble over and take it off my porch.
Oh, look, a collector's item.
Yep, it's a turkey.
I could sell this on eBay.
Well, I'll see it like as a potted plant or something inside the window.
You know, there were only 200 of those shipped worldwide, and you have one and I have one. I don't think so.
Right, exactly.
Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com. That's his website, THURROO.
I was agreeing to that. I was like, yep, that is exactly how my name is spelled.
THU. I got that much right. R. Then there's an O. Then there's a double T. .com. Become a premium member. I am, and it's really worth it. Lots of great stuff on that site. And of course, his books, including the Windows Everywhere book, which is kind of a history of Windows through its development platforms, and the Field Guide to Windows 11. Both are at leanpub.com. Richard Campbell is at Run As Radio. That's where you'll find .NET Rocks, the show he does with that lovely Carl Franklin. We should get Carl on the show sometime.
Yeah, I love Carl.
Yeah, he's great.
I love that show. I really like. I like both of his shows, but that one's is dev focused, so it's kind of more interesting to me usually. Yeah. Although I know a lot of the people he has on the other show too, on Run As, but love it.
RunAsRadio.com for both of Richard's shows. We do Windows Weekly on a Wednesday around 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. It will remain 1800 UTC until after Halloween, and then it will become 1900 UTC.
Oh boy, right.
No one knows why.
Mexico doesn't do. I almost said celebrate. Mexico doesn't do daylight saving. I know they celebrate a lot of things in Mexico. Let me tell you, every day is a celebration here.
I know. I love that. It's
but
a
not daylight savings.
Day.
It is literally a party every day. But they don't do it.
You're gonna be there for Day of the Dead. Now? Traditionally, Mexico City didn't used to do it, but they do it now, right?
Because of the James Bond movie, because of Spectre. That's true.
So.
It's amazing. It's really big. So I will not go to Zocalo for this. They do a parade up the Reforma, which is like the Mexico City Champs-Élysées or whatever.
Yeah.
But the metro gets dangerous with that many people. It's not because of pickpockets.
No, just crazy dangerous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Nuts.
Yeah.
So they do it right here. It's for you would think they've been doing it for 2,000 years or something, but it's
so much fun.
It's more closer to 12 years.
Well, we will see you next Wednesday. It'll be the day after. Is that right? Not next Wednesday. No. It will be.
It's the start. I think it starts. It might start right around then.
Yeah, the 30th, and then officially it's November 1st and 2nd. But
sometimes it stretches a little longer than that. But
just a little. Yeah. All right. Well, we will see you. I'll be wearing my Day of the Dead costume.
Nice,
just for you. You can also get the show on demand after the fact. Paul has it on his website. We also have it on ours, twit.tv/WW. There's both audio.
I just linked to it, to be clear. I don't host it or anything.
That's easy to find. If you're at thurrott.com, you go, oh, yeah, there's the show. He also does a show with Brad Sams. That's daily, right?
I think we could call that a show with it's just
zero.
We talk for 5 to 10 minutes a day.
Show.
It's just we just check in with each other. Basically,
that's nice. That's fun.
Sometimes we talk about grass seed. It's not really. It's not really.
I like the Scots Grow guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Beard. That's what you're probably.
I like eggs.
I like eggs. I do.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Okay, let's not go down that road. What else was I going to say? Oh, there's a YouTube channel for Windows Weekly. Great way to share little clips. And of course, you can, and I encourage you to subscribe so you get it automatically as soon as it's available. Just go to your favorite podcast client and search for Windows Weekly. Paul, we've been doing this a long time now.
Yep.
And I am very grateful to you and Richard for making my Wednesday mornings a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, that's a very polite way to say it.
I've been playing, Age of Empires.
Some good Age of Empires going in there. Yeah. It's good.
Let me just look when our first show was. If we go to
I can tell you exactly when it was. I mean, within a couple of weeks. I mean, it was before Windows Vista shipped. It was the closing days of the XP era. So probably
the first one was Road to RC1 for Windows Vista.
6 or 5?
September 28th, 2006. Very first episode.
September 28th. Yeah, that sounds about right.
28th. That's right. All of them, by the way, are available at twit.tv/WW. So you can go back in time and hear all of them. The real Vista ship date. Wow.
I know.
Oh, and the new Office ribbon. Ooh.
We were looking forward to this stuff. This is
back when
how
Paul was
long
young and
it's been.
naive,
I
young
know.
and innocent. Still excited about the world.
Crazy. I know. I had so much hope in front of me and so much disappointment that I didn't know was coming. Yep.
Paul Thurrott, Richard Campbell, thank you so much. We will see you next Wednesday. Thanks to all of you winners and dozers. Special thanks to our Club Twit members. We appreciate it. See you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.